Okay, if we could call the meeting to order and all rise for the Lord's Prayer. In the name of the Father, and the Son, and the Holy Spirit, amen. Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done, on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread. Forgive us our trespasses, as we forgive those who trespass against us. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. Amen. Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call, please.
Councilor Broderick?
Here.
Councilor Caulfield?
Here.
Councilor Donahue? Councilor Elliott?
Here.
Mayor Martin?
Here.
Councilor Armin Mercia?
Here.
Councilor Rita Mercia?
Here.
Councilor Milanazzo?
Here.
Councilor Ramirez?
Here.
Councilor Caulfield.
Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor. I would like to offer a moment of silence with darkened chambers for the following. For Barbara Damaris, a loving and devoted wife, mother, and grandmother, wife of Raymond Damaris, former chairman of the Appeals Board, mother of Lowell police officer Daniel Damaris, and also Robert Red Lemire, a loving and dedicated husband, father, and grandfather, a highly decorated veteran of the Second World War, a very giving, compassionate, and caring person. May they rest in peace.
If I could also add to that, I know Barbara Damaris was a tireless volunteer for many organizations, including St. Joseph's Hospital, the Merrimack Valley Girl Scouts, and Lowell Youth Skating, just to name a few. And I would also like to add the name of Raymond Barrett Sr., a longtime Christian Hill resident, and survived by his wife, Elaine Barrett, as well as many children and grandchildren. Please rise. The first item on the agenda is the approval of the minutes from the June 13th meeting. Motion to approve by Councilor Caulfield, seconded by Councilor Broderick. All those in favor say aye. Any opposed? The minutes are approved. Next is a communication from the city manager requesting out-of-state travel for Stephen Stowell, administrator of the Lowell Historic Board, to attend the National Alliance of Preservation Commission's Biennial National Commission Forum being held in Baltimore, July 26th through 30th.
Move approval.
Motion to approve by Councilor Mercier, seconded by Councilor Armin Mercier, seconded by Councilor Ramirez. Roll call.
Councilor Broderick?
Yes.
Councilor Caulfield? Councilor Donahue?
Yes.
Councilor Elliott?
Yes.
Mayor Martin?
Yes.
Councilor Armin Mercia?
Yes.
Councilor Rita Mercia?
Yes.
Councilor Milanazzo?
Yes.
Councilor Ramirez?
Yes.
9 yeas, the request is approved. Next item is an order designating the intersection of Sherman Street and Concord Street in the city of Lowell as Joseph Grenda Memorial in honor of Joseph Grenda, whereas the city is desirous of honoring Joseph Grenda now. Therefore, it is ordered by the City Council of the City of Lowell that the intersection of Sherman Street and Concord Street in the City of Lowell is hereby designated the Joseph Grenda Memorial in honor of Joseph Grenda. Second reading by title. An order designated the intersection of Sherman Street and Concord Street in the City of Lowell Joseph Grenda Memorial in honor of Joseph Grenda. Councilor Rita Mercier.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I, along with Veteran Service Officer Joe Dussault, received a request from Mrs. Geraldine Hall to have a Veterans Square named for her father, Joseph Grenda, who passed away in May of 1968. And the area we requested was at the corner of Sherman and Concord Street. His military service includes his service in World War II, Mr. Grenda served in the United States Army as a tech sergeant in World War II. He served in Rhineland, Central Europe campaigns. He was awarded a Combat Infantry Badge, Good Conduct Medal, American Defense Medal, European, African, Middle Eastern Theater Campaign Ribbon, American Theater Campaign Ribbon, and a Victory Medal. Because of his receiving the Combat Infantry Badge, he is authorized to receive the Bronze Star Medal. Many World War II veterans never applied, but he was entitled to receive it. I am honored to present this motion on behalf of his daughter, Jerry Hall, the family, for this most deserving veteran. I'm honored to do so.
Thank you. Roll call?
Counselor Broderick?
Yes.
Counselor Caulfield?
Yes.
Counselor Donahue?
Yes.
Counselor Elliott?
Yes.
Mayor Martin?
Yes.
Counselor Armin Mercia?
Yes.
Counselor Rita Mercia?
Yes.
Counselor Milonazo?
Yes.
Counselor Ramirez?
Yes.
9 yeas.
Next item is an order designating the intersection, 9 yeas, that order is approved. The next item is an order designating the intersection of Crawford Street and East Meadow Road in the city of Lowell as the LaBelle Family Memorial in honor of the LaBelle family, whereas the city is desirous of honoring the LaBelle family. Now, therefore, it is ordered by the City Council of the City of Lowell that the intersection of Crawford Street and East Meadow Road in the City of Lowell is hereby designated the LaBelle Family Memorial in honor of the LaBelle family. Second reading by title, an order designating the intersection of Crawford Street and East Meadow Road in the City of Lowell as the LaBelle Family Memorial in honor of the LaBelle family. Councilor Armin Mercier.
Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor. It's really a privilege for me to bring this in. The LaBelle family consists of the father and 2 sons. Wilfred LaBelle, of course, served in the United States Army in World War I. In 1918, he served at the 301st Infantry and was awarded the French Croix de Guerre with Silver Star for Combat Award, and he was discharged in August of 1919. His son Emil, United States Navy, World War II. He entered in January 43, served till 46, and he served on the USS Hector. His awards are the Asiatic Pacific Medal, the American Theater Area, the World War II Victory Medal, and the Good Conduct Medal. And another son, Robert, served in the United States Navy in World War II also, was 3rd class, served on the USS Poacher, a submarine. His awards are the World War II Victory Medal, American Theater Medal, Submarine Combat Insignia, and 3 gold stars, and Asiatic Pacific Theater Medal with 2 stars. It is an honor and a privilege to bring this forward and ask for your support.
Thank you. Roll call, please.
Counselor Broderick?
Yes.
Counselor Caulfield?
Yes.
Counselor Donahue?
Yes.
Counselor Elliott?
Yes.
Mayor Martin?
Yes.
Counselor Armin Mercia?
Yes.
Counselor Rita Mercia?
Yes.
Counselor Milonazo?
Yes.
Counselor Ramirez?
Yes.
9 yeas.
9 yeas, the order is approved. The next item is a vote authorizing the city manager on behalf of the City of Lowell to apply for, accept, and expend a grant from the Executive Office of Elder Affairs in the amount of $85,033 for the continued employment of staff as well as other office equipment and maintenance agreement for use by the Council of Aging. Now therefore be it voted that the city manager be, and he hereby is, authorized in the name of the City of Lowell to apply for, accept, and expend a grant from the Executive Office of Elder Affairs in the amount of $85,033 for the continued employment of staff, purchasing of miscellaneous equipment, supplies, and maintenance agreement for use by the Council of Aging. Said agreement shall be in the form, substantially in the form attached hereto. Second reading by title, a vote authorizing the city manager on behalf of the City of Lowell to apply for, accept, and expend a grant from the Executive Office of Elder Affairs in the amount of $85,033 for the continued employment of staff as well as other office equipment and maintenance agreement for use by the Council on Aging.
Move approval.
Motion to approve by Councilor Armin Mercier, seconded by Councilor Rita Mercier. Roll call, please.
I just have a question, Mr. Mayor.
Sorry, Councilor Armin Mercier.
It's my understanding that if we do receive this grant, it will be specifically for the application requests. It's not going in the general fund.
That's correct,
It's going
Counsel.
right for the elder affairs.
Correct.
Okay, thank you.
Roll call.
Counselor Broderick?
Yes.
Counselor Caulfield?
Yes.
Counselor Donahue?
Yes.
Counselor Elliott?
Yes.
Mayor Martin?
Yes.
Counselor Armin Mercia?
Yes.
Counselor Rita Mercia?
Yes.
Counselor Milonazo?
Yes.
Counselor Ramirez? Yes. 9 yeas.
9 yeas, that vote is approved. The next vote is a vote declaring surplus properties located at 169, 171, 351, 307, 291, 221, 221.1, 221.4, 221.5, 291.1, 324, and number 360 Jackson Street, 295.1, 295, 317, 317.2, 317.1, 323, 379, and 389 Middlesex Street, and 6 King Street, and authorizing the city manager on behalf of the city of Lowell pursuant to the Jackson-Appleton Middlesex Urban Revitalization and Development Plan, also known as the JAM Plan, to seek proposals under the provision of the Code of Massachusetts Regulations, Chapter 760, Section 12, the Urban Renewal Regulations, for the disposition of said parcels. Is there a motion to waive the full reading
So
by
moved.
Councilor Armin Mercier, seconded by Councilor Ramirez. All those in favor of waiving the full reading say aye. Any opposed? The full reading is waived. Second reading by title, a vote declaring surplus properties located at 169, 171, 351, 307, 291, 221, 221.1, 221.4, 221.5, 291.1, 324, and 360 Jackson Street, 291, 295.1, 295, 317, 317.2, 317.1, 323, 379, and 389 Middlesex Street, and 6 King Street. Councilor Milonazo.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Through you to the city manager. Mr. Manager, could you or Assistant Manager Coggins maybe walk through the solicitation process and the schedule for our viewing audience, just to let people know this current status?
Matt's here. Clearly, just to explain this briefly, this is the first, before we can go out for a master developer, we need to make all these properties surplus. So this is the first step on that. Matt can talk about the dates and whatever else time schedules we're looking at. But
Thank you.
certainly.
Good evening,
Mr.
Mr.
Coggins.
Manager, members of the council. Well, with an affirmative vote tonight from the council, the first phase of the RFQ will be available tomorrow morning. I think we had mentioned before, we've been collecting from interested parties now names and addresses for people that are interested in the project. That list is now up to 200 interested parties. They would be notified by email and given the address for the Hamilton Canal website. That first phase is due back August 15th. As I think we had outlined before, we would be asking developers to give us an example of their experience with a large mixed-use development, their experience with historic restoration of structures, their experience with pedestrian-friendly TOD developments, that sort of thing. And I can tell you, having met with a development firm on Friday and giving them a quick overview of the whole schedule, these are materials that larger development firms have readily available. So the first phase really is not really going to be an exhaustive exercise for anyone. It's not an expensive exercise. Really, the materials we're looking for are readily available by the larger players. And the idea is just to make sure that those who are interested in bidding on the project can truly carry out the vision that's been created. So again, those responses would be due back August 15th. From that, we would be recommending a short list, somewhere of 3 to 5 developers that would be asked to complete the next part. And that's where they would really get into not only their initial vision of the site, but how they would propose structuring a deal for the acquisition of the parcels.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Councilor Armin Mercier.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Is there a committee in place in your office that will be reviewing these RFPs?
There is not one assigned now. Traditionally, there's always been, we use 5 members of the staff, usually the assistant city solicitor, either myself or one of the deputies, sometimes the asset manager. But to answer your question, we've not assigned that yet, no.
But there will be?
Absolutely.
There's a committee that will review this?
Correct.
And then make a recommendation to the city manager?
Exactly.
Thank you. Move approval.
Okay, motion approved by Councilor Armin Mercier, seconded by Councilor Ramirez. Roll call, please.
Counselor Broderick?
Yes.
Counselor Caulfield?
Yes.
Counselor Donahue?
Yes.
Counselor Elliott?
Yes.
Mayor Martin?
Yes.
Counselor Armin Mercier?
Yes.
Counselor Rita Mercier?
Yes.
Counselor Milonazo?
Yes.
Counselor Ramirez?
Yes.
9 yeas.
9 yeas, the vote declaring the property surplus is approved. The next item is quarterly traffic ordinance, an ordinance amending the Code of Ordinances in the City of Lowell with respect to Chapter 13 thereof, entitled Motor Vehicles and Traffic. This matter gets referred to a public hearing on July 11th. So moved by Councilor Broderick, seconded by Councilor Ramirez. All those in favor say aye. Any opposed? So approved. The matter is referred to a public hearing on July 11th. Next item is a order for a 60-day trial in traffic pursuant to Chapter 13 of the Code of Ordinances of the City of Lowell, Massachusetts, concerning Section 13-6 thereof, entitled Temporary Experimental Regulations. Temporary traffic regulations are implemented for a period of 60 days at the following locations: Appleton Street, these are placard parking only, Appleton Street, Middlesex Street, South Street, and certain other areas of Middlesex Street. Motion to waive the full reading by Councilor Milonazo, seconded by Councilor Broderick. All those in favor say aye. Any opposed? The full reading is waived. Second reading by title, an order pursuant to Chapter 13 of the Code of Ordinances of the City of Lowell, Massachusetts, concerning 13-6 thereof, entitled Temporary Experimental Regulations. Temporary traffic regulations are hereby implemented for a period of 60 days. There is an accompanying letter with this vote explaining the mitigation during, this is for parking mitigation during the construction of the parking garage on Middlesex Street. Questions? Motion to approve by Councilor Armin Mercia, seconded by Councilor Milonazo. Roll call, please.
Councilor Broderick?
Yes.
Councilor Caulfield?
Yes.
Councilor Donahue?
Yes.
Councilor Elliott?
Yes.
Mayor Martin?
Yes.
Councilor Armin Mercia?
Yes.
Councilor Rita Mercia?
Yes.
Councilor Milonazo?
Yes.
Councilor Ramirez?
Yes.
9 yeas.
9 yeas. That vote is approved. The next item is a vote authorizing the city manager to enter into a license agreement with the New England Electric Railway Historical Society and the Seashore Trolley Museum, with principal offices at 195 Log Cabin Road, Kennebunkport, Maine, for use of City of Lowell property at 25 Shattuck Street. This is a rather lengthy vote. Is there a motion to waive the full reading? So moved by Councilor Milonazo, seconded by Councilor Donahue. All those in favor say aye. Any opposed? The full reading is waived. Second reading by title, a vote authorizing the city manager to enter into a license agreement with the New England Electric Railway Historical Society and Seashore Trolley Museum, with principal offices at 195 Log Cabin Road, Kennebunkport, Maine, for use of City of Lowell property at 25 Shattuck Street, Lowell, Massachusetts. Any questions? Councilor Donahue.
Thank you. Through you to the manager. Is it a year that they've been in there now, the museum?
I think it's been longer than the 2 years.
Is it longer?
Yeah. And apparently they've increased attendance over there, and they want to stay another year. We put into this thing that they would need to continue to increase attendance and take care of some things over there. So.
Yeah, I was going to say, I think some of the conditions are wise that are included this time, the attendance and refurbishing the storefront display so it looks active and so forth. So, I mean, I'll certainly support it. I was just curious how long they've been there so far.
Councilor Elliott.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Do they pay the city any money to use that space, or is it?
No.
It's free of rent? How many, do we know what the attendance is, excuse me?
Know that, Matt, what the attendance is?
In 2005, they had just under 1,000 visitors. So far in 2006, they're running about 25% ahead of the 2005 number. And while they don't pay the city any fee for the space, they do cover insurance, and then they cover all their own operating expenses, utilities, and so forth. So we're not extending any expenditures on their behalf.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay. Roll call, please.
Councilor Broderick?
Yes.
Councilor Caulfield?
Yes.
Councilor Donahue?
Yes.
Councilor Elliott?
Yes.
Mayor Martin?
Yes.
Councilor Armin Mercia?
Yes.
Councilor Rita Mercia?
Yes.
Councilor Milonazo?
Yes.
Councilor Ramirez?
Yes.
9 yeas.
The next item is a vote pursuant to Mass General Laws, Chapter 44, Section 31, City Council of the City of Lowell consents to incur liability and make expenditures in excess of available appropriations for major disaster, including but not limited to flood, drought, fire, hurricane, earthquake, alarm, or other catastrophe, whether natural or otherwise, which poses an immediate threat to the health or safety of persons or property, whereas it is anticipated that additional funds will be required for this fiscal year as a direct result of the 2006 flood, and whereas approval of expenditures in excess of available appropriation for city services relating to 2006 flood by the city manager and city council is required under General Laws, Chapter 44, Section 31, and whereas city manager has approved such expenditures, now therefore it is voted by a 2/3 vote of the city council of the city of Lowell as follows. Pursuant to Mass General Laws, Chapter 44, Section 31, City Council of the City of Lowell hereby approves expenditures in excess of available department appropriations during the current fiscal year as such additional expenditures relate to additional city services required as a result of the 2006 flood. Be it further voted that said expenditures be certified to the Board of Assessors and included in the next annual tax rate. Second reading by title. A vote that pursuant to Mass General Laws, Chapter 44, Section 31, City Council of the City of Lowell consents to incur liability, make expenditures in excess of available appropriations for major disaster, including but not limited to flood, drought, fire, hurricane, earthquake, storm, or other catastrophe, whether natural or otherwise, which pose an immediate threat to the health or safety of persons or property. Councilor Caulfield.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Through you to the manager. Mr. Manager, this is to compensate the employees for work performed and to reimburse them?
Through you, Mr. Mayor. Yes, Council, we've incurred about $350,000 in overtime expenses, about $150,000 to damage the vehicle, and another about $100,000 in debris removal. Obviously, no department in the last 5 weeks of the fiscal year had sufficient funds to cover this. By adopting this legislation, 4431, what we are able to do is treat this almost like snow and ice removal and put it into the next fiscal year and yet pay it this fiscal year. Clearly, there are hundreds of city employees that have worked overtime, that have done what we've asked them to do, and that have been very patient over the last 4 or 5 weeks and not being paid. As you know, FEMA has declared Lowell a disaster area, which means that FEMA, the federal government, will cover 75% of these costs. The other 25%, we're hopeful that the state will participate, maybe not all of the 25%, but certainly some number of what's left, leaving a small margin for the city to cover in the next fiscal year. So we wanted to pay these people as soon as we could. I really don't think it's wise to put this into the next fiscal year. I think by doing this, it's a lot cleaner. It's better for the city employees, and we know now that we are a disaster area, so we will get money from FEMA and hopefully then the state to make up for it.
Mr. Manager, I'm certainly going to support this, and if I may, the city workers went above and beyond. And no matter where you go, whether it's Lexington Avenue, or Elmer Street, or Martin Street, or New York Street, the people are thrilled at the performance of the city and the city workers for going the extra mile for them, the extra step. And the people certainly appreciate it. So I'm going to support this.
Thank you. Anything further? Roll call.
Councilor Broderick?
Yes.
Councilor Caulfield?
Yes.
Councilor Donahue?
Yes.
Councilor Elliott?
Yes.
Mayor Martin?
Yes.
Councilor Arman Mercia?
Yes.
Councilor Rita Mercia?
Yes.
Councilor Milonazo?
Yes.
Councilor Ramirez?
Yes.
9 yeas.
9 yeas. That vote is approved. Next item is a vote authorizing the city manager to execute a license agreement between the City of Lowell and Dora Mars LLC for use of a portion of city property adjacent to the premises at 76 Merrimack Street, Lowell, for the purpose of sidewalk seating. Is there a motion to waive the full reading of this vote for a license agreement by Councilor Broderick, seconded by Councilor Caulfield? All those in favor say aye. Any opposed? The full reading is waived. Second reading by title, a vote authorizing the city manager to execute a license agreement between the City of Lowell and Dora Mars LLC for use of portion of city property adjacent to premises at 76 Merrimack Street for the purpose of sidewalk seating. Any questions?
Move approval.
Motion approved by Counselor Elliott, seconded by Counselor Armin Mercier. Roll call, please.
Counselor Broderick?
Yes.
Counselor Caulfield?
Yes.
Counselor Donahue?
Yes.
Counselor Elliott?
Yes.
Mayor Martin?
Yes.
Counselor Armin Mercia?
Yes.
Counselor Rita Mercia?
Yes.
Counselor Milonazo?
Yes.
Counselor Ramirez?
Yes.
9 yeas, the license agreement is approved. Next item is an appropriation transfer in the amount of $100,000 to Public Works. Electricity, $55,000, Public Works heating and gas, $5,000, Public Works overtime, $40,000, for a total of $100,000 from Public Works, salary and wages permanent. Second reading by title, an appropriation transfer, the fiscal year 2006 budget. To Public Works, $55,000 for electricity, Public Works, $5,000 for heating and gas, Public Works, $40,000 for overtime, for a total of $100,000 from Public Works, salaries and wages permanent. Counselor Elliott.
Mr. Manager, is any of this for reimbursement on the vote we just took for flood overtime?
No, Counselor, this money is not for overtime. That money's all been separated out. This is totally separate.
Can you tell me what the overtime is for? Or
Eddie's
see
here. I think
Mr. Walsh
it's,
is here.
yeah, I think it's for various, well, I'll let him just describe it.
Mr. Walsh?
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, Mr. Council, the councilors. That $40,000 is for overtime that we have to use. We get 2 more weeks left. And we have money in permanent, but, you know, kind of the hiring freeze, jobs we hadn't filled. But no matter what, we have to use it. It has to be in overtime so we can use it. But, and if it does, it all goes back to the general treasury anyways, whether it's an overtime or permanent.
Right. Could you or the solicitor get us the citation for, Mr. Walsh mentioned at budget time, that we have to have an electrician at every event? And if it's a safety issue, I completely support it, but I thought you had mentioned that's where the bulk of your overtime goes. And if it's a state law, then I understand it, but if it's just a city policy, maybe we can, maybe Mr. Manager.
Well,
It just seems like there's an awful lot of money going just to have somebody at a field, and I don't know.
If I may, Mr. Mayor, some of the events, like the Riptide, for instance, I believe they pay for the electrician at their
Okay.
event. This is mostly high school events and
Right.
the like, where it is required to have an electrician
It
out
is
there.
required, okay.
I believe it's state law,
All
because
right.
if something were to go wrong with the lights or with the electricity, I think it's state law, I'm not sure, that we have to
Okay.
have an electrician there.
You can find out.
I don't know offhand, but we'll look at it.
I'm not trying to
and get you-
jeopardize safety, and I can understand if you have, 20,000, 15, whatever, several thousand, that, if the lights go out for some reason, that you need someone there, but it just seems that rings up quite a bill.
One other thing I should point out, I know the Board of Parks is now looking at a new fee schedule for Cawley Stadium and
All right.
the athletic fields there, because they're in such great shape, and with the new turf and all. So I know that those types of increases to fees would not affect Lowell High School, certainly, or any of the schools, and I know that they're trying to keep it away from the Lowell youth groups, but other groups that come in, like MIAA, those types of groups, they'll be paying more money to be out there, and so that should help with these things
Okay.
as well.
Thank you, Mr. Walsh.
And,
Counselor Rita Mercier?
thank you, Mr. Mayor. Through you to the city manager, they are working on a new updated fee schedule at Cawley Stadium. I haven't brought that forward because it hasn't been presented to the Parks and Recreation Subcommittee, but when it comes our way, I'll hold a meeting and then I'll bring it forward. But I know that they're working on it, and they did implement it to some degree, and they did generate some money from MIAA, which is like pulling teeth out of a junkyard dog. So I thought that was a pretty good thing, and I will elaborate on it further when I get some information. And the ideas that you have, how to generate money out there, is a good idea. I heard about it. I haven't shared it yet, but it's a good idea, and we will discuss that as well. You're always thinking. Thank you.
Roll call?
Counselor Broderick?
Yes.
Counselor Caulfield?
Yes.
Counselor Donahue?
Yes.
Counselor Elliott?
Yes.
Mayor Martin?
Yes.
Counselor Armin Mercia?
Yes.
Counselor Rita Mercia?
Yes.
Counselor Milonazo?
Yes.
Counselor Ramirez?
Yes.
9 yeas.
Next item is 9 yeas, that transfer is approved. The next item is appropriation transfer in order to meet fixed charges and current expenses of the City of Lowell for the year 2005-2006. Be it ordered by the City of Lowell as follows, that the amount of $72,400 is appropriated and transferred to Veteran Services from the manager Medicaid reimbursement expenses of $70,000, manager Lowell Festival $1,700, and manager rental school administration building $700, for a total of $72,400 to provide funds for unanticipated rate increases for veterans. Second reading by title, an appropriation transfer to Veteran Services in the amount of $72,400 from the manager Medicaid reimbursement $70,000, manager Lowell Folk Festival $1,700, and manager rental school administration building $700, for a total of $72,400. Questions? Councilor Elliott.
I'm going to support this, but just for my own knowledge, can you tell me what this is for, Mr. Manager? Medicaid reimbursement services. And I also noticed in the veterans budget, which I did support, there was an increase. And I was remiss in asking Mr. Dussault, just what is this large increase for?
Certainly, Councilor. First of all, let me say that Joe Dussault has had a death in his family. That's why he's not here this evening.
Okay, no, that's understandable.
But back in May, we were informed that the Secretary of Boston Veteran Services kind of, I guess, unilaterally just increased the benefits by like $30 a month.
Okay.
And we end up getting reimbursed 75% of what we spend, but it just, we did not budget for that type of money. It just kind of changed midstream, so we needed to fund it. So that's why we have this large amount. Then there are more veterans looking
Right.
for services and the like, so that's the reason why this shot
Okay,
up so
that's
drastically.
fine. I just wanted to just get an understanding of it. Thank you.
Move
Council-
approval.
Motion approved by Councilor Rita Mercier, seconded by Councilor Broderick. Roll call, please.
Counselor Broderick?
Yes.
Counselor Caulfield?
Yes.
Counselor Donahue?
Yes.
Counselor Elliott?
Yes.
Mayor Martin?
Yes.
Counselor Armin Mercia?
Yes.
Counselor Rita Mercia?
Yes.
Counselor Milonazo?
Yes.
Counselor Ramirez?
Yes.
9 yeas.
9 yeas, the transfer is approved. The next item is an appropriation transfer in order to meet fixed charges and current expenses of the City of Lowell for the year 2005-2006. Be it ordered by the City Council of Lowell as follows, that the amount of $37,870.52 is hereby appropriated to law, salaries, and wages temporary in the amount of $270.70, and law compensation in the amount of $37,599.82, and in order to provide for such appropriation, the above amount is transferred for said purpose from law, salaries, and wages permanent in the amount of $37,870.52 to provide funds for shortfalls in temporary salaries and workers' compensation. Second reading by title, an appropriation transfer in the amount of $37,870.52 to law, salaries, and wages temporary, $270.70, and law compensation, $37,599.82, from law, salaries, and wages permanent, the amount of $37,870.52. Questions? Roll call.
Counselor Broderick?
Yes.
Counselor Caulfield?
Yes.
Counselor Donahue?
Yes.
Counselor Elliott?
Yes.
Mayor Martin?
Yes.
Counselor Armin Mercia?
Yes.
Counselor Rita Mercia?
Yes.
Counselor Milonazo?
Yes.
Counselor Ramirez?
Yes.
9 yeas.
Next item is an appropriation transfer in order to meet fixed charges and current expenses. The City of Lowell for the year 2005-2006, be it ordered by the City Council of Lowell as follows, that the amount of $700 is hereby appropriated to election, salaries, and wages temporary, and in order to provide for such appropriation, the above amount is hereby transferred for said purpose from elections, salaries, and wages permanent in the amount of $700,000 to provide funds for a shortfall in temporary salaries. Second reading by title, an appropriation transfer fiscal year 2006, in the amount of $700 from elections, salaries and wages temporary to elections, salaries and wages permanent. Roll call.
Counselor Broderick?
Yes.
Counselor Caulfield?
Yes.
Counselor Donahue?
Yes.
Counselor Elliott?
Yes.
Mayor Martin?
Yes.
Counselor Armin Mercia?
Yes.
Counselor Rita Mercia?
Yes.
Counselor Milonazo?
Yes.
Counselor Ramirez?
Yes.
9 yeas.
9 yeas, the transfer is approved. Next item is an appropriation transfer in order to meet fixed charges and current expenses for the City of Lowell 2005-2006. Be it ordered by the City Council of Lowell as follows, that the amount of $5,000 is hereby appropriated to Council on Aging, Electricity $1,000, and Council on Aging Gas $4,000, for a total of $5,000, and to provide for such appropriation, the above amount is transferred for said purpose from Council on Aging Salaries and Wages Permanent to provide additional funds due to rate increases. Second reading by title, an appropriation transfer for fiscal year 2005-2006, the amount of $5,000 from to Council on Aging Electricity $1,000, Council on Aging Gas $4,000, for a total of $5,000, which is appropriated from Council on Aging Salaries and Wages Permanent. Any questions? Roll call.
Counselor Broderick?
Yes.
Counselor Caulfield?
Yes.
Counselor Donahue?
Yes.
Counselor Elliott?
Yes.
Mayor Martin?
Yes.
Counselor Armin Mercia?
Yes.
Counselor Rita Mercia?
Yes.
Counselor Milonazo?
Yes.
Counselor Ramirez?
Okay, we have one report from the wire inspector for a National Grid request in for a pole at 1 Puffer Street, and Verizon for conduits in Jackson Street and Moulton Avenue. A motion to accept the report and adopt the accompanying orders by Councilor Armin Mercier, seconded by Councilor Donahue. All those in favor say aye. Any opposed? Those orders are adopted.
Mr. Mayor,
I'm sorry, Councilor Milonazo.
thank you. Just under subcommittee reports, if I could, quickly, even though I guess Councilor Ramirez has stepped out, but the Economic Development Subcommittee did entertain Councilor Ramirez's request that we close off Middle and Palmer Streets, and as a result of the subcommittee meeting, it's being recommended that the second and fourth Saturdays of July, August, and September be closed off in order to generate some activity in that particular part of the downtown. So I believe the city will be getting a permit from Mr. St. Ange to do that on those 6 Saturdays. So the dates again are July 15th and the 29th, August 12th and the 26th, and September 9th and the 23rd. And that's a report from the Economic Development Subcommittee to be approved by the full council.
Okay. Councilor Caulfield.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I just want to caution, there is a business on Rogers Street. Rogers Pool, I mean not Rogers Street, Middle Street, Rogers Pool. Someone would want to get on there and buy pool articles and so forth. We'd have to let them get on and get the
I believe the
necessary supplies.
report is to close starting at 4:30 in the afternoon after they're closed.
Oh, okay.
Correct,
That's
yes.
fine. Oh, fine.
Okay, motion, Councilor Rita Mercia.
In all fairness to other businesses, and I know the businesses in question around the particular perimeter, and I think the world of them all, but in fairness to give the other side, this proposal, although seems right on the surface for those particular businesses, but look at the overall picture for the surrounding businesses, and there will be limited parking. The patrons will be parking at surrounding businesses and taking up parking spots from their very own customers. This move would impact others, and in the person's opinion is that this is a selective happening. Although it's a trial, I'm concerned about businesses, for example, that what would happen if customers were to buy a whole bunch of pool supplies, as Councilor Caulfield suggested, but if they'll allow a car to pull up there to get it, then I don't have a problem with that. And I just, for my own curiosity, I'm wondering if the DLBA approves of this. Did they have a statement from the Downtown Lowell Business Association? Do they approve this? I know it's only trial, and I really don't have an issue either way, but I'm just bringing the other side of that issue. For some businesses have called me and voiced some concern. I know it's only a trial, it isn't etched in stone, but some businesses were a little taken aback by it because they weren't included, not that they wanted to be. I always say it's nice to experiment and have a trial. I made a motion one time to try to make Merrimack Street two-way traffic. It never happened, but it was just an idea. This is another idea. But I did take into consideration the fact that there were other businesses that were concerned for street closing on Palmer and Middle Street. Those parking vehicles will have to go elsewhere and take up space from other businesses that probably would be losing out to cars parked there, and it would be discouraged from other people that want to go in and, let's say, have a quick sandwich or whatever, and they'd have to park further away. I don't know, it's just something that was brought up to me, and I thought I'd present their side of the story. I don't see an overswell of people coming in here saying that they oppose it. So in order to be neutral, and if this is a roll call, I'll vote present, just so that I don't get in any harm with either parties.
Councilor Armin Mercier?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Does this include Shattuck Street? I don't know. Does it? My personal feeling is the greatest calamity is not to have failed, but to have failed to try. I think this is worthy of a test, and it may lead to even more activity downtown, which we know is badly needed. So I'm in favor of this. It's recommended by the DPD, and I will support this.
Okay, thank you. Anything further? Councilor Ramirez?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and I'd just like to say that there is certainly merit to Councilor Mercier, Rita Mercier's concerns, but this is something I believe the administration has thought of doing in the past, and it's a trial period. I did speak to a number of businesses. I couldn't get around to all of them. I met with the Center City Committee, Jerry Beck, some of the folks over at the Mill Coffee House, George Duncan, and by closing it at 4:30, it allows a lot of the business and commerce to be done. I think that DPD and the administration did a fantastic job, quite frankly, maneuvering the political shoals through a lot of businesses. And so I think certainly it's with the idea, and I know that Mr. Coggins has informed me that they've been working on it, so I'm going to support it.
Thank you. Councilor Rita Mercier?
Thank you. And so in keeping the thought of closing Middle and Palmer Street at 4:30, how do we have people in the city department that is actually going to go out and put horses up to close the streets? Because I don't want people to forget about it and be driving up as people are just lollygagging across the street and not thinking a car's coming. So that is just a concern I have.
If I may, Mayor, we've done this before, Council. We've done it, Folk Festival. I think we did it one other time in August, a year or two ago. So we will bag the meters ahead of time so people won't be parking there, and then we will go in and physically close down the streets. Yeah, that's what the city would do.
Okay.
I should point out, there are two petitions under the petition, the next section of the agenda, one from Patricia Crane, the Executive Director of the Greater Lowell Health Alliance, and one from Paul Matarazzo, Vice President of the Lowell Downtown Neighborhood Association, both in support of this. So those matters, I think, simply get referred to the manager, but may be moot in light of the recommendation of the subcommittee. So is there a motion to approve the recommendation of the subcommittee by Councilor Milanazzo, seconded by Councilor Ramirez? Roll call, please.
Councilor Broderick?
Yes.
Councilor Caulfield?
Yes.
Councilor Donahue?
Yes.
Councilor Elliott?
Yes.
Mayor Martin?
Yes.
Councilor Armin Mercia?
Yes.
Councilor Rita Mercia?
Yes and no, so I'll vote present.
Councilor Milanazzo?
Yes.
Councilor Ramirez?
Yes.
8 yeas, 1 present.
8 yeas, 1 present. The recommendation is adopted. Councilor Milanazzo.
Just thank you, Mr. Mayor. We also have in our packets this evening a very detailed update on the ACRE renewal plan. So I was wondering if it would be appropriate to refer this to the Economic Development Subcommittee. I'd like to try to, again, working with the administration to move this off the dime.
I'll make that motion.
Thank you.
Motion to refer the report to the Economic Development Subcommittee by Councilor Milonazo, seconded by Councilor Elliott. All those in favor say aye. Any opposed? That matter is so referred. Any further subcommittee reports? Councilor Donahue.
Thank you. Just briefly, the subcommittee, the culture met for the first time last week, and we met with the consultant that has been hired by the Lowell plan to give us an update. My colleagues may recall that the consultant was hired in order to update the cultural plan for Lowell, which hasn't been done in about 20 years. And in that regard, over the next 6 to 8 months, we'll be out in the community interviewing, working with the community, and the subcommittee felt it important to work closely with the subcommittee as they progress so that we don't get just a document, but we get a plan as to what can be done. There are a number of concerns and issues the subcommittee raised for the consultants, who are Mount Auburn Associates out of Somerville, and they were chosen by a group connected to the Lowell plan, is my understanding, but chosen primarily because of their expertise, not just on culture, but on economic development and how culture impacts economic development. That really is the focus, and was the focus certainly when the Cultural Task Force was formed last year by then Mayor Armin Mercier. So just to update my colleagues, it's a report of progress. We expect to meet again with the consultants once they've kind of gotten their arms around the issues that they see in the city of Lowell. They certainly have vast experience in New York City, they're working in the Berkshires, all across the country, and have done this kind of work, culture and economic development, for other municipalities and areas of the country. So we look forward to hearing from them, working with them, and again, thanks to the Lowell plan for footing the bill for this particular consultant. So it's a report of progress. I don't know if anybody else on the subcommittee has anything to add, but I just wanted to update my colleagues as to what was happening on that front.
Thank you. Anything further on that report? Motion to accept the report as a report of progress by Councilor Donahue, seconded by Councilor Armin Mercier. Councilor Ramirez? All those in favor say aye. Any opposed? That motion is adopted. Any further subcommittee reports? Okay, hearing none, we'll move to the petitions. There is one claim for property damage. Motion to refer to the Law Department by Councilor Broderick, seconded by Councilor Milonazo. All those in favor say aye. Any opposed? The claim is referred to the Law Department. There is one miscellaneous petition from Stephen Massey, Trustee Manager, Old Zeal Farm Realty Trust and Drake Realty LLC, requesting access and tie-in to the regional wastewater and water system in Topman Street in Lowell. This matter is to be referred to the manager in the Law Department for report and recommendation. So moved by Councilor Milonazo, seconded by Councilor Broderick. All those in favor say aye. Any opposed? That matter is referred to the manager in the Law Department for report and recommendation. I think that we already dealt with the final two petitions, so that brings us to the motions. First motion is by Councilor Caulfield. Request that the City Council vote to rescind its previous vote taken on April 4th, 2006 to allocate wastewater treatment settlement received from the towns of Tewksbury and Drake to the sewer fund. Seconded by Councilor Rita Mercier. Councilor Caulfield.
Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor. I had the auditor present a report, a fiscal report. It's on everyone's desk, and the report is about the enterprise fund. Through you, Mr. Mayor, to the manager. Mr. Manager, has that money been received from the towns yet?
I just checked with the city solicitor this evening. No money has come in. Money's going to come in the next fiscal year.
So nothing has been transferred? The money's not here, so it can't be transferred?
The money has not come in, correct.
Okay. In the report, you will see that the balance is $7,937,920.91. We just had the budget deliberations, and we're looking for every dollar we can put our hand on to stabilize the taxes. That $1.1 million, Mr. Manager, is that going to be handled over a 3-year period through the towns?
I believe it's 4. Is it 4? 4 years.
4-year period.
Right.
So it's approximately, what, $225,000 a year, something like that? All right. The gist of the motion is to put that money that's being sent from Dracut and Tewksbury into the general fund, which can be used to stabilize the taxes. There's already enough money in this, almost $8 million in the enterprise fund. That's the gist of the motion, and it'd be more prudent to put that money into the general fund so this council can utilize that money in November as free cash to stabilize the taxes. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilor Elliott.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I appreciate Councilor Caulfield's, and I understand the spirit of his motion, but I couldn't disagree more. And that's why I made the motion quite some time ago. I've been here for 9 years, and the issue has come to me from the people of Belvedere who are affected by this for 9 years. And the same answer I continued to give them year after year is there really is no money. And you can ask any accountant from here to, across the nation. A one-time windfall doesn't solve operating budget problems. One-time windfall should be used for a problem or a one-time problem that you have. 1.1 million, we're not getting it this fiscal year, so, let's not try to fool the public. It's not going to help us this year. The damage has already been done. In my opinion, the budget has been set unless we're going to come back and make cuts. So I'm not going to support the motion. I think it makes no sense. There's a surplus in here because in the wastewater treatment enterprise fund. It's an enterprise fund, and appropriately so. It should be run like a business. The revenues that come in, that people are charged, and by law, they're supposed to be used to offset those costs associated with running wastewater treatment. Similarly to the water plant, by the way, which I don't think we should be doing the same thing with the water because that runs a surplus. But that's an item for another day, this day's discussion. So the people of Belvedere have been complaining about the odor since that plant was built 25 years ago. There's never been enough money. Now there is. It's going to come in over a 4-year increment. A study is being conducted by Mark Young. He would like to take care of the problem. There are 4 aeration tanks. It's $1 million problem. And by the time we get to it next year, maybe costs will go up. But I know that if I were a resident or a neighbor having to experience that on a daily basis, maybe it doesn't affect in the winter, but nevertheless, it affects Centerville and affects Belvedere residents, and it should be addressed. And the money is now there to do it. There's $8 million, and $8 million is for a $65 million CSO problem, phase 1. Just phase 1. Consent decree, we've been through the whole discussion with EPA, just phase 1. It's a $135 million problem. What it doesn't include, and what we didn't budget for, is the Pawtucketville extension, which I support, which I think that we should do. But there's another, is it $8 million, Mr. Manager, just for that extension to take care of the residents in Pawtucketville, Sparks, Emery?
I think we're doing that now, Council. I forget what the number is, but that's underway.
That also has to come out of this. So I just want to let people know, maybe it looks like there's a surplus, but the Water Abatement Pollution Control Trust that we're borrowing 2% hasn't come in yet. And I want to, Mr. Auditor, what is our debt schedule at this point without the bulk of the Water Basin Pollution Control 2% money coming in? We're not on that schedule yet, that SRF money, correct?
We don't have it. We only get $7 million out of the 56 or $60 million. So we're still working on it. We don't have anything on the $50 million yet.
Okay, well, thank you. Rates were raised for that, specifically for that. Here's a one-time problem. So I made my point. I'm passionate about it. I want to help provide a solution to the people that have to experience it, and that's the people in Pawtuckaville and Belvedere and Centerville. And I think that we should do it. It's coming in next year. The study's not going to be done for another year, so those are my points. Thank you.
Councilor Caulfield?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I just want to rebut Councilor Elliott's comments. First of all, we went out and bonded the money for the CSOs. We bonded the money for Pawtuckaville. We bonded the money through the CSOs throughout the city. There's $8 million in that fund. $8 million. And that should be ample money to address any problem out there. What I'm trying to stress to my colleagues is you need that $250,000 this year to stabilize the taxes. It will help. No, it's not going to cure all our fiscal problems, but it will help. And to transfer this money didn't make sense to me.
Councilor Elliott?
I thought we just heard the manager tell us that the money is not coming this fiscal year. Was that correct, Mr. Mayor? We just heard that it's coming next fiscal year. It's not going to solve the budget problems this year. It's not going to solve the budget problems, period. To solve the budget problems are to reduce the budget. So let's not leave someone with the impression that this money is going to solve the budget problem. You should have voted for the cuts.
Councilor Donahue?
Thank you. For all the years I've sat here, there's been the odor problem, and it hasn't been taken care of. We've heard a number of issues, explanations over the years, be it scrubbers, be it tanks, and so forth. You know, the fact is, my understanding was that the money wasn't there to take care of the problem. That's why I supported the transfer. It's as simple as that. I mean, if the money, if Mark Young is to say, we got all the money, we just need to know how to solve it, then I'd want to know that. But that isn't my understanding. So I'm not going to support rescinding it. If Mark Young can come in and say, look, I got all the money I need, I don't need this money, then I'll consider it next year. It's not even here yet. So, I mean, the money isn't here yet. So I'm not going to support rescinding it at this point. I do support getting that odor problem addressed and fixed once and for all. So until I know there's the money there to do it and it is going to get done, I'm not going to support rescinding it. Like I said, if he comes in next fiscal year and says we're all set, then I'd certainly consider it at that point.
Okay. Roll call?
Councilor Broderick?
No.
Councilor Caulfield?
Yes.
Councilor Donahue?
No.
Councilor Elliott?
No.
Mayor Martin?
No.
Councilor Armand Mercia?
No.
Councilor Rita Mercia?
Yes.
Councilor Milonazo?
No.
Councilor Ramirez?
No.
2 yeas, 7 nays, the motion is defeated. Next motion is by Councilor Caulfield. The City Council requests the city manager have the proper department place a larger, more visible stop sign at C Street and Puffer Street, seconded by Councilor Rita Mercia. Councilor Caulfield.
Motion speaks for itself, Mr. Mayor.
Okay. All those in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That motion is adopted. Next motion is by Councilor Donahue. Request the city manager investigate and report on the downtown special outdoor permits and late-night noise problems, seconded by Councilor Broderick. Councilor Donahue.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Let me just explain what prompted this motion. I had gotten calls over the past couple of weeks about this time a special permit on Jackson Street pertaining to a business who was having a special event on Jackson Street on Saturday night. This has been before the council before. I know there's condominiums there that had meetings with the owner of the business in terms of trying to reach an accord in terms of the noise and noise levels. I think what's happening right now is there are more people living down there. I've been asked by several people to get some answers, and so that's the intent of the motion. Do we have, and I'm not looking for answers tonight, but is there any limit on the number of special permits a private business can get to establish an outdoor event? I know they need a special permit through I believe the licensing commission for the event.
Is there a I don't think there was a restriction on that.
It's posing some problems because so many people living in the downtown right now, and I think there's more condos going right there. Issues in noise is number one, but two, public safety with that many more condominiums on both sides of Jackson Street. If there were fire or those kinds of issues. So I guess what I'm looking for is if there is no limit, then I'll file another motion. Maybe we should look into that, because what we have, and I'm not trying to single out this business, it's simply that a private business can petition, close off a street, have a large party or profit-making thing in the street, and it is disturbing the neighborhood. The other issue and this goes to the noise problem, one individual called the police department. I think the last event was St. Patrick's Day, then there was one this past weekend, and so the questions put to me is, how many do they get to have? I mean, and on one of them, neighbors said they couldn't go to sleep till 2:30 in the morning, that the walls of their condominium were actually shaking because of music. When I was asked about it, I said, well, there's a noise ordinance. They were told by the police department that the noise ordinance doesn't apply if they have a special permit. Now, that's news to me, so I guess I'd like to know if there's any, I think they have a time limit whereby they have to turn off the music, and I think it's, in this case, midnight. And so, but the level of noise, I mean, still, whether, let's say if it was a bar downtown, if they opened their doors and were blasting music, people would go in and say, look, you can't do that. So I think we have to look at this whole issue and find out how often can someone do this, does public safety weigh in on this, and what can be done to take into consideration the neighborhood in which this is happening. So, that's the intent of the motion. I guess if what I'm understanding is there is no limit, someone could come in, I don't know, could they come in every week and have a block party and so forth? So, I mean, I think those are things, because we have a number of businesses who may want to do the same thing. So, I guess the solicitor may have.
Yeah, if I may, the special permit relating to any amplification was really meant to be just that, function as a special permit. And it was really designed to address things like the folk festival, real, quote, special events, and a private business might be having a special event, but it was meant to be more of the exception rather than the general rule. What we can do is the law department can work with the license commission and get the council a report back in terms of what are some of the numbers, what are the statistics that we have so far in terms of how many requests we're getting, say, for special permits, and how many we might be just getting for the regular outdoor noise, outdoor public entertainment.
If we could get that information, I mean, it's ironic, we're talking about this on a night when we're talking about closing down the streets on Middle and Palmer. So, it's always been, there's been, at odds goals in the downtown, in terms of business and residential and all that.
And obviously this was meant to address those sometimes conflicting needs. Again, as you had mentioned, it ends at midnight. And secondly, the noise ordinance does apply. So the penalty provisions of the noise ordinance does apply. And by the same token, if there were excessive complaints, if somebody had a special permit and there were a number of complaints as the result of that special permit, that's something that certainly the License Commission could take under consideration in either revoking a special permit or in the future not granting one or granting one with conditions.
Yeah, I think if we can just get all the information on it, there may be misunderstanding because, as I said, when the individual called the police department, they were told, the noise ordinance doesn't apply, and that didn't make any sense to me. And that, they were also told there was no such noise ordinance. So, there's a lot of issues, and I think that might be because DPD might handle, I don't know who's handling the noise ordinance. So all of these things, as we're approaching summer, I guess we should, if we can get a report on. But I do think long-term, we should get some handle on how many times a private business can shut down a street for a party, so that, and then what consideration has to be given to the neighborhood. Because I just see this as, it could get to be a bigger problem. You know, another individual called me after the Saturday party saying the music was after 12, but it did shut off shortly after that, but they did have to call the police. So anyway, if we can get a report so we can have a policy that makes sense for everybody in the downtown going forward. That's it on the motion. I'll wait the report, and if necessary, file a subsequent motion if we conclude that we need to have some changes in our ordinance.
Thank you. Anyone further on the motion? All those in favor say aye. Any ayes?
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, the motion is approved. The next item is a motion by Councilor Donahue. The City Council requests the City Manager to have the Division of Planning and Development report on the recruitment and retention of downtown businesses. Seconded by Councilor Milonazo. Councilor Donahue.
Thank you. We've talked about this before in terms of, you know, businesses leaving, and in large part, some of that has to do with just the economy in general, moving, issues between individual landlords over which we have no control in terms of if there are lease negotiations that aren't going well or what have you. But it is getting to a point where we have far too many vacant storefronts. I think we have to be more aggressive. And what spurred me to file the motion was it's bad enough that the economy is taking, you know, some retail from the downtown. But I received a card, and I'm happy to give this to Planning and Development, that one of our business, actually several of our businesses got, where they're being recruited by Providence, Rhode Island, and, you know, good for them, but not good for us. You know, it's and I'll read the card. I mean, it's join us for breakfast in downtown Providence. So see for yourself what's happening in downtown. Find a storefront with your name on it. And then the invitation invites them to a breakfast reception with the mayor, learn about opportunities in Providence, tour available retail and restaurant locations, and so forth. So, you know, we're being targeted by...
They must be hurting too down there.
Yeah, it's not Buddy Cianci either. But anyway, you know, I think this is, you know, it might be something that we should look into as well. And if we can give this to DPD to look into, not just to attract new ones, but make sure we're keeping, you know, the ones that we have. Let's get, maybe it takes putting some more resources into this. So we can find out before they shut their door, what are the issues. I know we have a downtown coordinator, but I don't know, you know, she's just one person. So maybe there has to be more resources. But I think it's becoming a priority, and that we should do something about it. So I'll give this to you, Mr. Manager, if you can pass it on to Planning and Development, and see if maybe we can go to Providence and rob some of their people. So that's the intent of the motion.
Councilor Milonazo.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I just want to remind my colleagues that through the administration working with the Planning and Development Office, we were able to set up the Downtown Venture Fund, which is being administered by the Lowell Development and Financial Corporation. Not only have all of the banks, as well as the city, as well as another group called Life's Initiatives, we've actually put up $1,300,000, and those funds are available to businesses, new businesses coming into the downtown. And to date, I believe we've made 22 loans. Unfortunately, 3 have gone out of business, but the others are still in the downtown. Unfortunately, as has been reported, we now have a number of storefronts that we all want to see get reoccupied. And I think that if people are aware that these funds are available, I think we can generate some more interest. And I think that what Providence is doing, maybe Lowell needs to take a look at being more aggressive in doing some of our own recruitment. So again, just as a reminder, those funds are available, and I know that the LDFC and the Planning and Development Office are really looking to get those funds working. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilor Rita Mercier.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'd also be interested to know what is the function of the downtown coordinator, the liaison between the city and the businesses. Is there a schedule as to what this person does? I'm not sure.
I don't know if there's an actual schedule, Counselor. She's very well received by the downtown businesses, I know that. She's very, very visible in the downtown, and I think she's done really a fabulous job. And I say that based upon what I see and the conversations I've had with her, but more importantly, what I've heard from people in the downtown, organizations in the downtown. They really think an awful lot of her, and so I think she's doing a very good job, and it's a difficult one, and probably should be more than one person.
And I'm not blaming her for the
Right.
storefronts being
No,
empty,
no.
but is she relaying messages to the administration saying they have a concern with parking, or they have a concern with whatever their concerns are? I have a concern with the downtown. I know that the Christmas lights, I asked, well, not the Christmas lights, but the white lights that we keep up all year, I think they're phenomenal. I think it's a comforting setting when you go down and see that. However, I see that some are still hanging there, and if someone walks by it without realizing it, they're gonna hang themselves. It's in a loop. I don't want any lawsuits, and
Maybe could you give us that tree as soon as possible?
They need to
so we
be
can take
strung
care of
up a
it?
little bit higher, and they're not lit, so.
If you could point out that tree to
I
us, we'll
will-
take care
I
of
will
it
point
before
it
someone
out.
gets hung.
So, I mean, these are things that I'm thinking a downtown coordinator would have heard that from a business person and brought the message back to the administration. And this is what I'm hoping is going back and forth. It is, isn't it? Okay.
Councilor Milonazo?
Just as a follow-up, I know that there's a very active downtown website, and I know Sue Damari updates it on a very regular basis, and there's links to a number of the businesses in the downtown as well. So it's a very good internet site.
Councilor Donahue?
Yeah, just quickly, in talking to people, merchants in the downtown, the DLBA, and they speak very highly of Susan and the work she's doing. I think that she does communicate well with the merchants. It's just, I think the problem is bigger than just one person, and maybe it's a strategy or implementation of a plan that needs to be looked at from a policy kind of point.
Thank you. All those in favor of the motion say aye. Any opposed? The motion is approved. The next motion is by Councilor Donahue. Request the City Council set a special meeting to elect and appoint a new city manager. Councilor, I think this
This should go at the end of the list after.
I think it's more appropriate for this to be heard after Councilor Elliott's motion. May we hold those two to the end of the meeting if there's no objection. So the next motion then would be Councilor Rita Mercier's motion to have City Council request the city manager have the traffic engineer and police department work with the parishioners and clergy of the Centerville United Methodist Church at 800 Bridge Street to formulate and resolve parking problems during church services, seconded by Councilor Elliott. Councilor Rita Mercier.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Through you to the city manager, I had brought a list of concerns with this particular church, and nothing has been done to alleviate the problem. And I know that it's very tight quarters over there. It's right at the V of Bridge Street. You go straight to Bridge Street, but you could take the left at the V to go down Hildreth Street. And it seems that on Sunday when they're having their church services, the police are out full force just ticketing these people, and it's kind of hard to go to, it's tough enough to get people at church without coming out and finding they have traffic tickets that they have to pay a fine on top of. So I'm wondering if we could set meeting up with the parties that I suggested to see if we can work together to alleviate this problem and help them out instead. Did we ever get the crosswalk painted in that area? I haven't been on Bridge Street. Well, so that's another problem. So if we could, act like we're concerned and go over there and...
Rain's kind of holding us back a little bit. We do one section of the city at a time, rotating basis.
All right, well, thank you. I'm just concerned about their parking problem. This comes at the request of Richard Lockhart, who is a member of the church over there, and he asked me if I would carry this motion for him and have someone sit down with the police department and try to find a way that is amenable to all parties.
This has happened before, Council. Several years ago, the minister over there and I spoke, and then we calmed it down for a while, and I think,
Yes.
we get lax with it, and so we have to pay a little more attention to it.
Thank
But
you.
we'll take care of it.
Thank you. I need some help there.
All those in favor of the motion say aye. Any opposed? That motion is approved. Next motion is by Councilor Rita Mercia. The City Council requests the city manager accept a petition containing 18 signatures with the intention to make safer their neighborhood by placing 68 Wollaston Street on the demolition list, seconded by Councilor Broderick. Councilor Rita Mercia.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor. Sometimes we don't receive a phone call to make a motion. People actually come to your door, and this happened when people came to my door and suggested that I look into some ways and means of resolving this problem with this particular house. And I said, well, it's my understanding, and let me take a look at it first. And I went over there, and I couldn't find the house. The reason I couldn't find the house is because the trees and every greenery is so overgrown over this house, you don't even know a house is there, which makes it a good cover for vandals, for people to throw trash in, for people to have the water freeze, and oh, it's just a mess. And if I could just, if you allow me to just read the petition, I said, if you could just put a petition together and have people sign it. It is my understanding where 10 people come together with signatures for the good of the neighborhood to protect their quality of life, and they address an eyesore that it could be placed on the demolition list. I asked David St. Hilaire that. He said, absolutely. I didn't get 10 signatures. They didn't get 10 signatures. They got 18. And the following signatures are a petition whereby the residents of Wollaston Street and the surrounding area make a plea to the City Council and the City of Lowell to resolve the problems concerning 68 Wollaston Street. This property has been abandoned for approximately 3 years. Some of the dangers it has presented are as follows, and it lists 7 dangers that's presented. Water pipes have broke in the winter of 2004, causing a buildup of 6 inches of ice across the entire street for 8 days. A gas leak from the floor furnace in the winter of 2005 and 2006, which took several phone calls over a 4-month period by the gas company to locate the resident listed above. The telephone and cable lines have been broken away from the house by a broken limb from a tree on the property in the winter of 2005-2006. This was cleaned by surrounding neighbors. Overgrown shrubs, grass, trees that lean over into the street, and I'm telling you, you don't even know the house is there. You can't even see it. Abandoned shopping carts are left on the property. Youngsters are seen going in and out of the property, and I'm surprised that worse hasn't happened over there. And they're coming in and out of that property at various hours. The house is deplorable and dilapidated conditions, posing a danger. It is posing a danger to the neighborhood. Therefore, we, the undersigned petitioners, urgently request the help of the Lowell City Council and the City of Lowell to resolve this increasingly hazardous and dangerous situation in an effort to keep our neighborhood safe. And let me tell you, it is a beautiful, beautiful neighborhood. It's a shame that this house is abandoned and they're afraid for the safety of children and people going in and out, and it's a detriment to their beautiful, well-kept neighborhood. So I'm petitioning this council to please put this on the demolition list to have it removed. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor. Councilor Elliott?
I support the motion, but Mr. Manager, can you tell us where we are with a demolition list? And I presume there is a list, and I guess the question is, where's the money? Because I think this is a legitimate issue, and I'm sure there's some others that are out the city, but it was once funded with block grant money, I believe, and maybe some city money to demolish these properties.
I have no idea, Councilor.
Okay. I just, want the residents to know, like Councilor Mercy does, that yes, we're going to move forward on this, but unfortunately, we either have to fund it or use block grant money or something in order to take these things down.
Thank you.
Can we lean the?
Excuse me?
Do we know if there's a budget for demolition, Mr. McCarthy?
We can find a way. They'll find a way.
Whatever it takes, that's fine with me. Is the property abandoned, Councilor Mercer?
Yes, it's abandoned for 3 years.
And have we taken it by tax title? Can we put it up on the auction block or anything?
Do we
It's in
have any
probate?
bulldozers in the city?
Okay.
Heavy equipment bulldozers.
I'll wait for the report. Thank
I
you.
think the owner's in a nursing home.
Okay. All those in favor of the motion say aye. Any opposed? The motion is approved. Next motion is by Councilor Rita Mercier. The council requests the city manager contact the utilities to move the pole at 133 Parkview Ave. Seconded by Councilor Caulfield. Councilor Mercier.
This is a request by the people that recently bought that home. They bought it off a person that did not have a car, never had a driveway, and so they want to put in a driveway and get their car off the street. So there's a telephone pole that's in front of where the driveway would be, so that's just a request. And I saw John Upham just yesterday. I should have asked him right then and there at the CTI breakfast, but I didn't want to mix business with a breakfast, so. And may I say, the last motion that I had, I did present the petition with my motion to the city clerk as well. Okay, and that's the gist of that next motion, is just they want to put a driveway in, and I'm appealing to Mass Electric if they could move the pole. Of course, that'd be kind of difficult, but, well, there's no other way to move the driveway.
Thank you.
Thank
Councilor Caulfield.
Thank you, Mayor. I just would like to also piggyback a motion that I had filed months and months and months ago. Mr. Mayor, you know the name of the street. It's right off Gorham Street, right near the Portuguese Bakery. I filed a motion to have a pole moved there. It's in front of...
I believe that's Carter Ave, Councilor.
Carter
right?
Ave, thank you. It's, I think Mass Electric has been up there, they looked at it, they painted the road and so forth, but nothing has been done. And I also requested a street light on Johnson Street, it's off Barnum Avenue, and that was a year ago. And there's no light. No light has been installed, so I will give John Upham a call too. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor. All those in favor of the motion say aye. Any opposed? Motion on the pole location is approved. The next motion is by Councilor Ramirez. The City Council requests the city manager and the Division of Planning and Development evaluate the benefits to the city if it were to host the Nanotechnology Center off the UMass Lowell campus property, and refer the report to a joint subcommittee meeting of the Economic Development and City University Partnership Subcommittees. Seconded by Councilor Donahue. Councilor Ramirez.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Mr. Manager, this is more of a due diligence request. I know that Councilor Broderick had a motion earlier, and I know you I may have had some discussions with the university earlier about this. And while I think we'd all like to host an $80 million new building, but in speaking to some of those folks over there, there's the question of land. Are we prepared to, are they going to buy it, or are we going to give them the land for free that they're going to build on? The other important thing to consider is if it's going to be located over at the GM or in that area, the nanotechnology, my understanding, is not going to be a tax-paying entity. And that may be fine if it's going to spur the kind of economy that we need for it to generate over there. So we may just have a discussion on it and prepare the pros and cons of it. It may be better off staying at the university, and we entertain tax-paying entities on that land. So that's the basis of the request. Thank you.
Councilor Caulfield.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I certainly hope that the subcommittee would entertain and invite Senator Stephen Panagiotakis, who has been at the head of this project for a long time. So he deserves due diligence to be there.
Thank you. Councilor Ramirez?
Yeah, and I don't disagree. If Councilor Caulfield wants to amend the motion to include the entire delegation, that's a good, and they can weigh in on it. Let's get our ducks in order and discuss whether it's a good idea or not idea, or how we can make it work. Thank you.
Thank you. All those in favor of the motion say aye. Any opposed? That motion is adopted. Next motion is by Councilor Ramirez. The City Council requests the city manager have the Division of Planning and Development evaluate the possibility of utilizing Lucy Larcom Park as a temporary artist avenue. Seconded by Councilor Broderick. Councilor Ramirez.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Mr. Manager, this is more thought. I know how successful Lucy Larcom Park is during the Folk Festival, where kiosks or these sections are set up for folks to sell their wares or show their craftsmanship. And my thought was that if DPD could sit down with some of the artist folks and discuss whether it would be of a benefit to the city and to them to set up an area whereby they could not only practice their trade, but also set their art for sale on any given night or on the same nights that we are piloting the downtown, and then maybe report back to the cultural subcommittee. Thank you.
Thank you. All those in favor of the motion say aye. Any opposed? The motion is adopted. Next motion, Councilor Elliott's next motion, I believe we're going to delay to the end of the meeting. Any objection to that, Councilor Elliott? So the next motion would be from Councilor Elliott to request the city manager have the city solicitor update the city council on the sign ordinance, seconded by Councilor Milonazo. Councilor Elliott.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. The motion speaks for itself. Can you tell us where we are on the sign ordinance? And I should have been a little bit more specific, including the posting of a building permit sign. I've had people ask me about it. I'm curious myself where we are with all of those, signs.
Counselor, I spoke to George Parekis today. Apparently, it was planned that when DPD was going to be coming back sometime in August with the rest of the zoning changes, that this ordinance would come back as well with further recommendations and further study. If the council wishes, according to George, we could always speed that process up and handle them separately.
That's fine. I just want to know an update. As long as it's forthcoming, I think people around the city were, at least on the building permit sign, anticipating, seeing not only it posted, but, the orange, I think we voted an orange fluorescent display of that permit. So if it's forthcoming, that's fine. I don't want to rush the process along anymore. But did we vote it, or we didn't vote it because of the size, the configurations, or?
Right, I believe that there were a number of issues. I know there was one issue with the law department that we had a recommendation that the enforcement provisions be strengthened. And,
okay.
excuse me, but I think there are some other issues as well that were
That's
being
fine.
addressed.
As long as they're working on it, I don't want to belabor the issues.
Yep.
I'll wait for that. I'll wait for the report. Thank you.
Anything further? All those in favor of the motion say aye. Any opposed? The motion is approved. Next motion by Councilor Broderick, City Council requests the city manager report on Veterans Bill, Chapter 77 of the Acts of 2005, where employees called to active military service, seconded by Councilor Caulfield. Councilor Broderick.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. This is, apparently, this was brought to my attention that it's a newer bill that it's for civil servants that are called up to active duty that can supplement their active duty pay, assuming the city can do it. In the instance here, this is a firefighter who's been called to duty. And let's say he made $400 a week here, but he's going to make $300 a week on active duty. It's my understanding that this would allow the city to pay the extra $100 to keep him at the level to sustain his family while he's gone. And
I think we did this.
I think we adopted it.
Has it been adopted?
I thought we already did that. I think we do that currently, I believe. I know we did something about employees called up to active duty. I thought that's what it was.
I believe there was some police officers that we did adopt.
Civil
this.
service employees, right.
It's on the books.
Then I guess we can skip this one. I don't know why. Then he should have submitted it directly then instead of calling me. Thank you.
Well, why don't we vote the motion anyway in case it's something else?
Reaffirm.
So moved.
So, all those in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The motion is approved. It just requests the report, so if it's in place, and everybody will know it's in place. I'm sorry.
Right.
Madam Solicitor?
Thank you. I don't believe that this legislation has ever been formally adopted by the city. We can do a report and report back to the council, but I don't believe it's ever been adopted.
So then we,
I think there was, at one time, I think there was also a cost analysis done by Kathy Tierney in Human Relations, and we could update that cost analysis at the same time as send the council a report as to the new legislation, because this new legislation and get that in your packet for next week.
Thank you. I don't feel so bad now.
Okay. Counselor Elliott.
I thought we were paying the cost differential on, I believe that we have employees that are in active service right now, and we are paying that cost differential between their
think we are, too.
salary, their military leave, and,
We'll check it out.
okay. Thanks.
Okay, next motion is by Counselor Broderick. Request the Stocklosa School Subcommittee recommend and report on a direction for the city manager through the law department to initiate legal proceedings to rescind the Stocklosa School release and request return of $290,000 paid as settlement by the city of Lowell and collect the per diem fines and penalties associated with the delayed opening. Seconded by Counselor Ramirez. Counselor Broderick.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. This is pretty simple. This has been in subcommittee now for some time, and I think about probably 4 or 5 months ago, I asked the solicitor at what point are they in breach in terms of not providing us the information in accordance with the release, which obviously is a contract. And I think at this point now, we're talking 13 months out. It would make sense to at least discuss it and see how the council feels. I think that we just keep waiting, and we're going to get more paperwork and more and just more garbage thrown at us from them. And this would be a way to at least actively get the information. Whatever they do have, it's kind of the promise of more to come. And I haven't seen anything yet other than there's been a delay and the cost increased. You'd think after 13 months they could substantiate that. And basically, I know it's in subcommittee, so I don't know what the subcommittee was going to recommend or not, but I just asked that if we could take this up and get a recommendation or report on it. Thank you.
Counselor Donahue.
Thank you. Councilor Broderick's correct. This has been in the subcommittee since March or so. And there was a report 2 weeks ago, I think, that was referred to the subcommittee as well. We were still waiting for the backup documentation. That's primarily what, in the report that we were given, that still, the law department didn't have that, as well as the timeline. We did get a timeline from Bodieri, but mainly the backup documentation. So I guess through you to the solicitor's office, whether that's been received from bond counsel yet or not.
They have been here a couple times now, both the construction company that would be finishing up the punch list item, as well as the representative from St. Paul Travelers Insurance. In fact, I met with them again today, and at a meeting that we had scheduled last week on this thing. Essentially, the information that I had provided the council with some 2 weeks ago was the first big bulk of information to substantiate the cost overrides associated with reinserting these classrooms late. And we're still working with Jackson through the insurance company to examine. It was roughly, I think, another $85,000 in cost substantiations, as well as a spreadsheet that would further detail their overhead costs. Other than that, that's essentially what we're looking for from Jackson. Jackson did provide a bit more information. Some of the line items that I was requesting out of the $85,000 were apparently included in the original documentation that they provided to the city. Apart from that, what we are working on, which would be brought to the council in an executive session, would be a proposal which would wrap up the issue of liquidated damages in this case, which is a pretty substantial figure, as well as the final backup documentation in terms of all the payments made to all of the filed sub-bidders in this case, and whatever remaining documentation will be needed in terms of the city's claim against DRA.
Okay. Do you know,
as well as not to interrupt, but as well as a schedule for final completion on the punch list. I think it was 2 or 3 weeks ago when they went out to the site on the punch list items. Of the 158,000 left on the punch list item, apparently it's something less than the 158. And we can also negotiate with the insurance company if we want to do any part of that 158 in-house. That's also an option to us. But we haven't yet executed, nor would we, a takeover agreement.
Okay, I mean, I'll schedule a subcommittee, but do you have any idea when you think that all that information will be gathered or available? I mean, we can,
We're getting the releases. They brought in an example of one release today, and the law department will be reviewing it to make sure that the language of the release, this would be from the filed subbidders, is going to be sufficient to satisfy the city, given the demands for direct payment that have been held in abeyance up to this date. Assuming that that language and that form is sufficient, they have also indicated they will give us copies, this is from the insurance company, of all the checks that have been issued to the subbidders. And obviously, we wouldn't be releasing any of the funds until we had hard proof that all of the filed subbidders have been fully paid.
And this could get bogged down. It's just when I looked at the materials, I saw subbidders who hadn't been paid, but not necessarily, it wasn't tied to the 3 classrooms. But we can go through this in the subcommittee, and this is pretty, painstaking to go through those things. Yeah. So, I'll wait to hear. I mean, I certainly can schedule the subcommittee, but, it would be helpful if we had the whole package.
Right. I think that we're probably, a week or two away from coming up with a final proposal from the insurance company to basically resolve this. Their position, obviously, is they want to wrap this matter up. They want to finish the punch list items. They want to provide us with the final proof that all of the filed subbidders have, in fact, been paid. And then whatever outstanding documentation is left. As I understand it, part of the problem with the outstanding documentation for, again, these something less now than $85,000 from what was originally identified as particular line items, part of the problem with that is that for certain contractors, they might have had overrides in other areas, and then it ended up being a wash. And it's hard after the fact to pull up the documentation to show that. And so it's those particular items that are kind of slowing this down. Other than that, most of the backup that we're going to have, we have.
Thank you.
Thank you. Councilor Caulfield?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'm certainly happy that we'll be discussing the communication from the bonding company at a public forum and go through that process with due diligence and let it be known that the bonding company did a thorough examination of those 3 classrooms, and it's very evident in the report that I read that the manager will be vindicated for any wrongdoings on those 3 classrooms. Thank you.
Councilor Milonazo?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Where are we with the monies that the city actually spent on doing all of the landscaping and site work? I know that's outside of the issue of the 3 classrooms.
Right. That we had settled on a figure. I think there was a difference of $4,000, and they've agreed to the additional $4,000 credit to the city, and that credit will be part of the overall global settlement proposal that I will give to the council, and as well as, again, any future credits if we want to negate some of the particular line items out of that $158,000 of punch lists.
Okay. Anything, Councilor Elliott?
I think Council Mercier was first.
I don't think he looks at me anymore.
Excuse me?
Mr. Mayor?
All right, Councilor Armin Mercier.
I just have one question through the manager to the city solicitor. It's my understanding that whole Stocklosa problem is going to be dumped in one final settlement where there's credits and charges and, at what point will you be bringing that to the council for recommendation and approval? There's not going to be any loose pieces here. The 3 classrooms is going to be involved in that, and the credits for the stuff that the city did,
right,
the change orders, all of it is going to be in one package.
Right. What the law department has been trying to do is to address all of those issues and have a global settlement, if you will, of all of those issues. I would note, however, that there are still a lot of other issues pertaining to the Stocklosa school, whether they be lawsuits from SNR Construction,
right.
And so there's a lot of other issues that are still outstanding regarding Stocklosa. So again, this would be any and all issues as they relate to the 3 classrooms as well as payment for the sub-bidders.
Thank you.
And liquidated damages.
Councilor Elliott.
Thank you, Mr.
Councilor
Mayor.
Barretta.
Through through you, Mr. Mayor, to the auditor, what balance do we have remaining, Mr. Auditor, on the stock closest school?
Nothing's changed from the last report. You got $880,000 of retainage.
Thank you. Madam Sisler,
Yeah. It's a total of $1.1 million total that we have left.
and what is it, the additional 300,000? I know the 822 was in contingency. What was the balance that you just added?
You had some purchase orders left that weren't filled yet.
Okay, is the contractor still working on the punch list? There were quite a few items that had still remained to complete.
No, the contractor, once the insurance company took over, the contractor had no right to be doing any of the punch list items. The timetable that we have on the punch list item is probably about 2 weeks, and the insurance company wants to finish this up. If we're going to come to an agreement, finish it up over the summer, because it's going to be that much easier to handle those issues without class being in session.
So who is addressing those punch list items?
The construction company hired by St. Paul's is Vertec Construction.
Okay. I happened to be there a couple of weeks ago and practicing some basketball with some kids, and there's a huge sinkhole in one of the basketball hoops, the furthest end towards Rock Street. I mean, clearly I think that should be a punch list item. But I wanted to get an update. At least they are working towards it.
Any of those, we had a discussion about that today, not about a sinkhole in particular, but any potential warranty issues, they will step in and handle those as well. So where there are cases of a failure, I don't think there's been a lot out at that school, but in instances where there is some sort of a warranty failure, such as a sinkhole, they've indicated a willingness to address those as well.
Does the city have a clerk of the works now checking the punch list items against what we're supposed to get?
I believe
or is
both.
It the architect? I'm sorry.
Yep, I'm sorry. I believe both Ed Walsh as well as Dennis Devlin toured the site with representatives from Vertex as well as the insurance company. And again, that was probably about 2 or 3 weeks ago.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilor Broderick.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Councilor Armin Mercy asked a good question, but Madam Solicitor, we've already released Jackson, so they're out of this now, correct? So they're not going to be in any global settlement.
No, Jackson isn't part of the global settlement. The global settlement is with the insurance company.
Right, but I think...
But Jackson still has obligations to the city, and Jackson is not insolvent. They are apparently still in business, and Jackson has been working with the insurance company to help put this information together for us.
But I think the point, Councilor Armin Mercy, or the question he was asking is, are they going to be included? Is all this going to be lumped in one big settlement? And I think the answer is no, because they're not in that. They're not in that.
Now, all of the outstanding issues relating to the 3 classrooms are all going to be addressed in a global settlement. The global settlement will be with the insurance company, but that settlement will address any and all issues. If it's agreed to, it will address any and all issues pertaining to the 3 classrooms and closeout of this item, as well as the punch list item, as well as liquidated damages. And that's all going to be done with the insurance company.
What insurance company is this? Whose insurance company?
The bonding company for Jackson Construction, St. Paul's Travelers.
So they're not going to enforce Jackson's release?
I didn't get the question. What was that?
They're not going to enforce the release? If Jackson's been released, why are they going to pay any money on their behalf?
I'm sorry, I'm not...
So
when the insurer or the surety steps in, I mean, they're going to complete the whole project, including paying off, anybody that might not have been paid off at the time. There was retainage held in this case. So any of the parties that haven't yet been paid, that's something that's been handled by St. Paul's.
Okay, that's one issue. But then we have the issue of the fact that we paid them the extra $290,000.
For the classrooms, right?
Right.
Yep.
So how is that going to be brought up with the insurance company? That's a dead issue because of the release, isn't it?
Well, I mean, that's an issue that would have to be discussed in executive session. We're holding a sum of money. It's not necessarily something I would recommend, but it's something that that we can discuss in executive session as to whatever the potential benefits are, as well as what the potential downfall is to holding that money. Because right now, the 1.1 million that is being held would be minus liquidated damages, minus punch list items, would be heading off to the insurance company, which would then satisfy all of our obligations pursuant to this contract to pay off all of the outstanding subs as well as retainage.
Okay, but like, to get back to it, the 290 is still separate than the insurance, then? You understand what I'm getting
No,
at?
I think I have an understanding of what you're getting at. The insurance company would argue that it's completely separate. It's
Right.
possible that we may want to argue that it's not separate, but.
Well, I think that's the intent of the motion, is to say, you know, let's go back, let's go back to them. Either prove it, show us why it went from $75,000 in May 2004 to $290 a year later, and by their own estimate. That's essentially what I'm looking for, and and if they can't, then we should get the money back. Because
Oh, you mean to bring a lawsuit against Jackson to be compensated for the $290,000? Is that the gist of your motion?
If they can't provide the information that they, according to the release, then...
But they have provided a information to date. I mean, there's still information outstanding. I think it would be difficult to say that they haven't at all provided any information or cooperated. I mean, they've some of the information that they've provided clearly indicates the cost overrides associated with the 3 classrooms. In fact, I think the total is somewhere around $400,000 associated with the 3 classrooms. And what we're hoping to do is to get it up even higher, up to perhaps around $500,000 was our hope. Those claims then would be brought against the architect in this case.
Okay, I don't want to belabor the point, because obviously we can get an update from you in your opinion in terms of whether it's a good idea or not, but that was the intent of the motion, that's all. Thank you.
Councilor Donahue?
Obviously, this thing has been pending for months, and it just seems to me it only makes sense to, we can do it piecemeal, but that just doesn't seem to make sense. It only makes sense to me to take the matter up when all of the documents are available. I mean, it is not a simple matter. It's complex to go through all of these, but what we do know is that we don't have all the documentation from Jackson today, and it's over a year later. So that's the same song we've been singing, all these months. So I'm happy to take up the motion in the subcommittee and Marcus subcommittee. It just, if it's a week or two before we think documents will be had, then we can wait. If they still don't come across with them, then that's our answer. They're not cooperating, and we'll take that matter up. So, but given that there's work actively being done right now to try and get that, I think it only makes sense to have the whole picture in front of us when we do take the matter up. I don't think anyone can say at this point whether where we stand, because we just don't have all the backup. I mean, they can say this is what it is, but if you don't have the backup documentation, we just don't know. So we'll await a report from the solicitor as to when that should be wrapped up.
Right. Again, much of the documentation that they're going to be providing, they have provided, and so right now we're at, we're in excess of the 290, but we're still hoping to get more. And I think it does make sense to wait until we have all of that information from them.
We can go back and forth all night. When I looked at the packet, I can't identify that that's the 3 class. So we'll wait if it's within reason that we get the rest of it. Otherwise, we'll take up what they gave us so far.
Okay. Anything further on this motion? All those in favor say aye. Any opposed? The motion is adopted. That leaves us with the final 2 motions. Okay. Mr. Manager, certainly excused. I think it makes sense to deal with Councilor Elliott's motion first, which is a motion that the City Council vote to increase the number of candidates interviewed for the City Manager position from 5 to 7. Second by Councilor Rita Mercier. Councilor Elliott.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. This motion wasn't to slow the process. It wasn't to delay it. It wasn't to complicate it. Having read through the resumes, we had voted a number of 5 candidates to interview, which was similar to the last time we did it. But after I had the weekend to sit down and go through them and go through the process of narrowing down from, I think I had 10 or 11, it was difficult to narrow it down to 5. And I did make my selections. But even considering last night, the interviews that we had, I thought they were productive, they were informative, and I think we made some good selections. I still think I'd like to interview more. So that's really the gist of the motion. I know that we did set the process in place, and the council did decide, including my vote, on the parameters and the selection and the process. So it seems like I'm trying to change the rules midstream. That's not the case. I think there were a couple other candidates. I'd really like to interview, maybe 8 or 9, and I know that's not going to fly. But that really is just the motion, and if there isn't a wish to do that, that's understandable. But I think even in light of the candidates that we interviewed last night, we have selected some good candidates, and I still think there are a couple of more. So that's the motion, and I don't even know what the process was. I originally thought, well, maybe we should, vote again, but I think that extends the search. That doesn't make sense. I think maybe the next 2 candidates that are in line could be an option. One individual that I kept going back and forth on was Mr. Jankowski, and then I understand the next person is Mr. Casey. So I don't want to belabor the issue. The motion does speak for itself, and I would urge my colleagues to support it, but understand that a process was put in place, and this is sort of changing it midway, but it wasn't a mischievous motion, as has been put in the paper. That's not the reason behind it, and I spoke to Councilor Ramirez about it. Just a little bit of change. Just let's interview a couple more. So that's the motion, Mr. Mayor. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilor Broderick? Oh, I'm sorry. All right, Councilor Caulfield and Councilor Rita Mercer.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. 2 of the most important issues that faces any elected body such as this. 1, deliberating the budget, going through the budget process, and 2, hiring a city manager, and not necessarily in that order. There are many good qualified candidates that have been called in for the process. We've already interviewed 3 good candidates with 2 more tomorrow evening. There's almost a month left in this year before Manager Cox walks out of the building, July 31st. I can't see any rush. I can't see why we can't expand the process and hire the best qualified person to manage this city. If we don't do that, I think we're not following through in the best interest of the city. Thank you.
Councilor Rita Mercier?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I also agree with the motion by Councilor Elliott in that I question what the rush is. I know that time sometimes is of the essence, but I don't see that happening here. Like Councilor Caulfield said, we have a month left. And I think this is one of the most important job facing us as a city manager, is the person that governs the city. So I think to say 5, I don't know what I was thinking when I agreed with that. Sometimes we have a afterthought or a second thought, and that's why we sometimes amend our own motions, because we put forth something, and I don't know if we did it hastily, but we take a step back and we realize that we should have done something a little bit different. And I feel that there were quite a few candidates that were unbelievable, but I only had a choice for 5. I liked Monica Lamboy from Washington. I thought her resume was phenomenal, and I would have loved to meet her and just hear her speak and what are her thoughts. And I think we're learning a lot from these candidates. Just the 3 that we interviewed already, I think we've learned quite a bit. And I'm willing to go forward and see if we can add a few more. I don't see the harm in it. I'm not trying to be mischievous. I'm just trying to say that I think it's incumbent upon us to take our time and go a little smoothly I'm certainly willing to, rest this summer. I would certainly love to do that, but I think we have an obligation to make the right choices, and I think 5 is not a significant number. I think that we could have done a little bit better. I don't know why we can't support this. I don't see the votes here, but I certainly am willing to give it a try with Councilor Elliott and hope that we could just add a few more, because I think it would be knowledge to us. I think they could offer some insight into what this city is all about to them, and that's the gist of the motion, and I'm glad Councilor Elliott made it. It's a very good motion.
Thank you. Councilor Donahue.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. When I filed the motion to set the process, I made suggestions to follow the same one. It was open to everybody on the council if they had a better idea to say what that better idea was. I mean, there wasn't any, it was, everybody voted unanimously 4-5. It's what we followed, the process we followed before. We had some of these resumes since mid-May or May 19th. I mean, the suggestion that there's some big rush and we didn't know what we were doing, I guess the media thinks that. I don't think that. I mean, I think we have had ample opportunity to look at these resumes. I filed the motion a week before it was heard to set the process. We had some resumes, I think the first ones came in like May 19th or so. We had set the process over a month before that, so that goes back to April. We're elected to do a job. That is one of our most important jobs. So we knew in April that the manager was leaving. A couple of weeks passed and we decided to advertise just as we had done before. There was about a 30-day window of advertising, and the resumes started coming in mid-May. Now there were several that came in at the end, but even then we had those resumes, the last one from Friday until Tuesday, and there were a handful, there weren't dozens, before the motion was heard. So, I mean, I know the media is complaining about the process, but all I'm saying is that we all, as the elected officials, had all the information before us when we voted unanimously on the motion. So, I wouldn't have cared if people said, let's do 6, let's do 7. It wouldn't matter to me. The problem I have now is, quite frankly, that I think the motion as worded is out of order. I think it has to be a motion to rescind that vote. There was no motion for reconsideration filed. We do have rules, that's why we file motions. And the proper channel, and I'm not trying to stand on ceremony here, but the proper approach is to file a motion for reconsideration within, I think it's 24 hours under our rules. But then you can vote to rescind a vote. But then what does that do to, and we're more than halfway through the interviews. We've advertised, we voted, we made our selections. You could have chosen any one of the 5. I doubt anybody chose Monica Lamboy, and I'll leave it at that. So, at any rate, the point I'm making is if I think and we can go through you, Mr. Mayor, too, if you rule on it, I think it has to be a motion to rescind the prior vote. And then I would be looking for an opinion as to what does that do to where we're at? Does it throw out the whole process? Because if you rescind the vote, we've already advertised. Putting aside the advertising. Are you saying you want to start all over? Forget the 3 interviews that we've done? I mean, I don't support that. Now, if at the end of the process, the 5 that we all 9 agreed to, nobody held a gun to anybody's head, we all 9 agreed to that. My belief is at the end of the interviews, and if none of the candidates can garner the support, then I think it's up to this council. Do you want to go back to the rest of the list? Do you want to go back out and advertise? I think that I think is the appropriate channel. But I guess I would ask for a ruling. I think it has to be a motion to rescind.
Madam Solicitor, you have a view on that?
One of the things with respect to a motion to rescind is that, and I guess it was alluded to a bit by Councilor Donahue, and that is that a motion to rescind may not be in order if substantial act has already been taken on what had been voted upon. And in this case, there had been the 3 interviews already. Tomorrow would actually conclude the interview process. The other question that I would have with respect to a motion to rescind, which I think would have been the appropriate vehicle in this particular case. The other question would be, because the council has already established the process, namely the top 5 vote getters would garner the interviews. Listening to the remarks of Councilor Mercier, if there was a particular person that you wanted to now interview above and beyond the 5, there really is no process set in motion right now to allow you to do that. You would essentially have to come up with a new process which will allow you to interview not just more, but to do it in a way that's different from the already established process, which would be the top 5 vote getters, and if you were to do, say, 2 more, arguably the 2 next top vote getters. But even that isn't necessarily, at least from what I'm understanding here tonight, that isn't even necessarily what's being proposed. As far as comments from Councilor Donahue, I think she's correct in the sense that if there was no consensus for the 5 candidates as they currently stand after the final interviews and once you establish your special meeting, then it would be incumbent upon the council to go back and again, one option would be you could certainly set up new interviews from the remaining candidates or start the process anew. But to specifically answer the question, I do think that it would be a motion to rescind is what would have been needed, and therefore the motion would be out of order.
Yes. Councilor Armin Mercier.
This can be resolved very easily. Roll call, and I think it'll resolve the matter.
Before we have that roll call.
Well, Councilor Caulfield?
This council sets the rules. This council makes the rules. This council can amend the rules. And I think what the motion states is to invite 2 or 3 more candidates that have already applied to the interview process. And I know the votes aren't there to do that. But that is really the best interest of the city, to interview those candidates who you might think are quality people. This is a very important vote, a vote for someone to manage the city for the next 6, maybe 10 years. Who knows? We've had 3 excellent candidates interviewed. I was very impressed with all 3 of them, but there might be more out there that are more impressive. And I said, it's incumbent on this council. Amend the rules, rescind the vote, whatever if you don't want to do it, that's fine. But if you want to stick with the 5 candidates that we're interviewing, good luck.
Councilor Elliott.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'll just be brief because I did file the motion, and I don't want to be seen as being a rule breaker, but I think, unfortunately, I think that seems to be the road that I'm going down. I broke the first rule by releasing the resumes, and but I think that was in the best. I think it was a good thing. Maybe, I hope nothing happens from it. I hope none of the candidates get upset, but I think it was good for the good of the community. And I'm not trying to break any rules, but we did put a process in place, and I didn't think of the parliamentary issues, and I know rules. I'm not an expert at it by any stretch. This was just, it was really just a simple motion to say, let's interview more candidates. I didn't read every resume as they came in. I'd be very surprised if anybody did, because they kept coming in, and then the last day, we got a slew of them, which was a good thing. Maybe I didn't do my homework on time, but as I got through the process, the day before we had to make our selections, I found myself looking through the resumes more thoroughly, becoming more interested in some of the candidates, and that was it. So we've discussed the issue, and not trying to make this any bigger of a production than it already is. It's just, let's get some more candidates, that's all. So That's it, Mr. Mayor. Thanks.
Councilor Milonazo, I'm sorry, he's had his hand up for a while.
That's okay. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'll be brief. I truly believe that Councilor Elliott was sincere when he did file this motion, but I'm not going to support it simply because I never even got to 5. I was the only councilor that submitted 4 names for consideration. So, again, I do think that as a collective body, we will, in the end, hire the best qualified candidate for the position. So, again, I won't be supporting the motion in front of us. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilor, I know you requested a ruling. I'm not going to rule this out of order. I think it's important enough for us to vote on it. Granted, I think it could have been more artfully crafted, but I just think we should have a vote on this. I would like to be heard, so I'd ask Councilor Milonazo to come up, but Councilor Broderick first before we do that.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Excuse me. I'm not going to support the motion either. I think that many of the people here have been through this process. This is my first time through the process, and I relied on the guidance of others that have been through this process before. It's the same process we've used for Manager Cox, and the city used for Manager Martin before that, and it's a known process. There were no hidden secrets here. You know, we all had the same rules. You know, pick what you thought were the best 5. We all did it. You know, I didn't get my 5 picks in for interviews. That's been made public. There's no secret. But I think that, you know, I think we need to set an example that we're going to follow our own rules. And this is probably the most important decision we're going to make. I mean, the budget, we do that every year. The city manager position, that's a serious decision that we have to make. And, you know, fortunately for me, I reviewed the resumes as they came in. You know, as Councilor Donahue said, you know, we got Paul Cohen's on May 19th. You know, some of the media has made it sound like we had to rush through 37, 38 resumes in 4 hours or 10 hours. You know, the fact of the matter is we've had some of these for 2 or 3 weeks, and with, you know, a half a dozen or so coming in the last day, and we still had a week to review those. So, you know, I thought it was that was the process we were going to set. In fact, that evening I asked a question that was jumped all over as far as whether we're going to televise the interviews to make sure that we discussed it all. And we set the rules, and that those are the rules we're going to follow so that later on nobody can raise an issue or a question that something might not have been fair. And it's been an open process. I think everybody understood it going in, and, you know, and I understand Councilor Elliott's sentiment that, you know, there's a couple more I'd like to see now. Maybe you got more information, but, you know, I think that to be fair to the process and in the public who's entrusted us to make this decision, we should stick to our own process and our own decision. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Broderick. Mayor Martin.
Thank you. Most of the points I wanted to state have been made, but I think we should also look at this as a practical matter. I don't know what Councilor Elliott intends if we would then vote again, but what I assume he means is we just add the next 2 highest vote getters on the original list, which, as I understand it, would be 2 people that got 3 votes for an interview. So we're going to ask to interview people who got 3 votes for an interview on the chance that they'd pick up 2 more votes to become city manager, which I think is most unlikely given the pool that we have. I also think it's unfair to the applicants that have already been selected. Some haven't even been interviewed yet, and we're going to say we want to hear from more. I'm confident with the process that we followed. It was very similar, if not identical, to the process that was followed last time. We did have these resumes, many of them for a number of weeks, so there was no rush to judgment. And I think Councilor Donahue's right. The media may not like it, but, you know, the media may not like it because it's going to be over soon, and there won't be fodder for speculation for another couple of weeks like there has been in the past. So I can appreciate the media's interest in keeping this an active issue for as long as they can keep it an active issue, but I think it's in the city's interest to get somebody hired as soon as possible. I think a period of transition would be helpful to the next manager, whoever that's going to be, and I think it behooves us to get this process selected sooner rather than later. I think it's been a completely fair and open process, very similar to the process that's been followed in the past, and I don't see the need to change it, particularly when this council agreed to it just a short time ago. So I'm going to oppose the motion.
Thank Thank you. Councilor Armin Mercia.
Thank you, Mr. Vice Chairman. First of all, it was well-intended on the part of Councilor Elliott. I give him credit for that. But we have 5 good candidates as far as I'm concerned. We had 3 that were interviewed yesterday, and we're going to have 2 more. And out of those 5, I'm convinced that someone will surface with a majority of the vote to be the next city manager. If that is not the case, however, as Councilor Eileen Donoghue suggested, then that motion to reopen and re-advertise should take place at that point. I think we should follow our process. I think we should hold our interviews tomorrow and maybe just delay this motion if no one has 5 votes to become city manager. So I think that's the reason for the roll call. Let's get it out of the way.
Excuse me. Councilor Ramirez,
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. I think all the points have been made. Let's get a roll call on it.
roll call.
Councilor Broderick?
No.
Councilor Caulfield?
Yes.
Councilor Donahue?
No.
Councilor Elliott?
Yes.
Mayor Martin?
No.
Councilor Armin Mercia?
No.
Councilor Rita Mercia?
Yes.
Councilor Milonazo?
No.
Councilor Ramirez?
No.
3 yeas, 6 nays, and motion is defeated.
Good effort, though.
You want to handle the last motion?
Okay, thank you. Councilor Donahue's last motion is to request the city council set a special meeting to appoint the new city manager. All right, need a second to that motion? Second by Councilor Armin Mercia. Councilor Donahue?
I'm sorry, I got caught talking in school. Okay, the last time when we set the process, we talked about setting a meeting, but it never was set in the vote. My suggestion, in my suggestion only, is that we set a special meeting to deal with the issue, whatever way, but we have to notice a special meeting of the city council and for what purpose. And you know, I'm putting it out there. I'm suggesting Friday of this week, if that's agreeable to the council. I think the special meeting, and I guess I'd look to, whenever that is, I'd look to the solicitor, I guess, for purposes of either voting, appointing, or discussing the process of appointing the next city manager. Part of the problem we have is, you know, I think the public doesn't appreciate, we as a body, we can't sit around and talk about this stuff. We need to do it under the open meeting law. And so when we have interviews, we can't sit there and say, well, let's do it here or let's do it there. So I just think that we should be scheduling a meeting within a reasonable time after the interviews have concluded to take up the matter of either voting, appointing, or what's the next step that the council wants to take at that point. And so I'm suggesting Friday, whatever time is convenient for the body, but for purpose of discussion.
Thank you. Councilor Ramirez had his hand up.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. I certainly support the idea of Friday. I think that that'll give us a couple of days to think over who we need to pick. I think there's been a lot of time with the resumes. I certainly support the Friday timeframe.
Thank you. Councilor Rita Mercia.
Thank you, Mr. Vice Mayor. I'm just concerned about some other things, such as what if the majority of councilors support a person for city manager that wants a contract? I'm certainly not in favor of supporting a contract. What if someone we suggest decides that they don't want $125,000, that they want $145,000, and then some more? And then, I mean, where do we go with that? Because I'm not supporting the higher end of the pay scale. I'd like them to start off small, which $125,000 is not small change. But I'm thinking, I don't want them to start at the top. I want them to start at the bottom and prove themselves to me over 6 years or whatever time they're going to stay here. So these are things that I'm concerned about, and I don't know at what point do we establish the guidelines as to what we're going to do or we're not going to do. I mean, do we choose a city manager and then decide, oh my God, 5 of us or 6 of us chose this person and they want a contract, and I don't know if we're going to support a contract. So what do we do at this point? And we can't discuss it privately like Councilor Donahue said. So these are some of the things that I'm concerned about.
Councilor Bud Caulfield.
Thank you, Mr. Vice Mayor. I didn't hear Councilor Dunn, what you suggested Friday, that's the 4th of July weekend. And I would suggest that we probably select the new manager probably next Wednesday or Thursday. What is the rush? It's 4th of July weekend. I don't know how many people are going to be planning on going away this weekend, but, you know, you got to take that into consideration.
Good point. That's a good point.
What's the wish of the Councilor Elliott?
I can just speak for myself. I'm going to be away on vacation that week. You know, it's the 1 week of the year that, you know, and
All of the week, yeah.
we were planning on, you know, leaving a little bit earlier on the long weekend. So,
Did you say the week or the weekend?
look, I'm going to be leaving, you know, a little bit early. We had plans to, you know, go away early. It's the long weekend. So I'm off the week, and we're planning on leaving early on Friday. So I mean, I can come back and stick around if that's the wish of the body. But if there are these issues that we have to discuss, I don't know if we're planning on doing it all in one night. We set those parameters and then go and vote. But I think it's a valid issue because we did have an array of individuals that we interviewed. The individuals last night, went from some want a contract, some don't know. Again, the salary scale. So we need to put those parameters in place. And I don't think it's going to be solved in one meeting, but I could be wrong.
Councilor Broderick.
Thank you, Mr. Vice Mayor. I have 5 kids, so I'm not going anywhere, but I guess it depends on schedules, and it's going to be tough. This is the biggest vacation week of the year, and but as Councilor Reedermercy mentioned, that it may be more involved than a simple vote. Okay, this is our person. We're done. Let's go home. We may have to discuss. Some have indicated they want a contract. Some have said they don't mind. Some money matters, money doesn't matter. I think that no matter what, when you get down to the selection and signing on the dotted line, not necessarily a contract, but making the selection and getting the acceptance and the commitment, that it may take more than just a 1 hour series of votes or however this process normally goes, and that I would suggest the sooner we start, the better. Whether we start, I don't know, Councilor Elliott, what time he's planning on leaving, but and I don't know about the rest of the councils. I'm going to be around, but if we start the process Friday, that at least, you know, leaves us. I can make myself available Friday anytime. At least it gets the ball rolling, that we can maybe narrow some issues and narrow the scope of a follow-up at some later date. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor Martin.
I think these concerns about, you know, salary, contract or not, are good reason to start the process as early as possible, because we could agree on a person, an amount, and say no contract, make that offer to the person, have them say no, and have to start again. So, you know, if Councilor Elliott's away next week and others may be as well, maybe that's not the best time, but I would support, you know, Friday the 30th, at least to start, and there may well be a follow-up meeting necessary. Maybe that can't be in the following week. It would have to be in the week after that.
Yeah,
Councilor Elliott.
yeah, that's fine. You know, Friday morning. I mean, if I got to change my schedule, that's fine. I'm willing to do that. I was just throwing out there. I don't know if anyone else is
that the wish
doing
of
that.
the body?
But, you know, Friday morning. I think we should initiate the process. I just think that next week people are away.
Time for Friday morning, 10 a.m.?
I usually arrive at 6:30 a.m., so.
It doesn't matter to me.
I'll have to check with my employer, but I'll do my best.
We'll give you a note.
Ceremony, 10 a.m.
10 a.m.
10
10 a.m.
That's
Friday
my
morning.
suggestion.
Is that 10 a.m.?
That's early enough, and again, we start the process, and if Councilor Elliott needs to leave early, you know, noon time or 1 is early, you know, based on the fact that he has a family. So
I mean,
if it's agreeable to everybody at 10 a.m., it's
Probably
agreeable.
gonna
Thursday night, Friday, you know,
Thursday night?
Friday morning's fine with me, or Thursday night. I don't know. Do we need ample time to advertise that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
For a special meeting, a 48 hours notice provided to,
What if you
written
start-
notice provided to each council member, yeah.
Would have to start at 9 o'clock on Thursday night.
But not before tomorrow. I mean, we got some interviews to do.
Right.
I'd
So
make a
we-
motion that we adopt a special meeting Friday at 10 a.m. for the purpose of electing and appointing a city manager.
Second.
Second. Mayor Martin moves in substitution, correct? Is that would be in substitution, or no?
I think it's the same motion, just
Same
the date and
motion,
time
okay,
attached
okay.
to
Just
it.
on the,
Yes, Council
Just-
Caulfield on the motion?
thank you, Mr. Vice Mayor. Councilor Mercier, did you indicate we could be out of here by noon?
I never mentioned
No,
the
no,
time.
you, not you.
Oh.
My good friend Armin.
I thought I was your good friend.
We could establish the fact that if we're not done by
I mean,
noon, we'll recess.
you've been around a long time, and you know there could be
we'll recess.
52, 55 ballots. So
Could also be
don't
one.
even think of being out here at noon.
We can always recess if we need to leave earlier.
We could
I mean, there's
start
no
early.
other alternative. I don't want Councilor Elliott out of town when we make
Right.
this decision.
Right.
Well, no,
And I think if we wait a whole week, be honest, it's too long. Maybe Friday is too soon, but the alternative is too long, based on the fact that we want a full complement.
look, if I'm the only one, I'll come back for a special meeting. Don't, you know, I didn't know if I was the only one. If I'm the only one, then
So let's just look at
don't
Friday.
go on what my schedule is.
Friday, we'll go with Friday at 10.
10.
All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye. Opposed? Vote.
Not Saturday.
Okay. Oh, no, that's right, Friday.
Can-
Yes,
In
Councilor.
that regard, if there's any special, I don't know, I mean, if there's any special information we should have from the law department in terms of offers or how that has to be done, does it, maybe we can have that, I don't know, whether it's done in executive session, whether it's done, where it's employment terms, I don't know what the answer is there.
Right, some of that I believe would be done in executive session, but in terms of...
Some of what? Excuse me.
Not the vote, I don't mean the
No,
vote.
no, I'm not talking about the vote either, no. No, I'm talking about, and the other possibility is that if the council decided to go with a contract, which is another open-ended issue, that obviously isn't going to be resolved
Right.
for, some time. And what had happened,
Right.
if you recall, the last time the school committee elected the superintendent, they had elected a superintendent. We went into extensive contract negotiations, and then in the end, the parties couldn't
That
reach
was
an
Mr.
agreement.
Nimbercaw,
Right.
What was that?
Buzz Nimbercaw.
Right, correct. And he withdrew, and Carla Brooks-Bear was then selected. So, all of those issues obviously wouldn't be resolved, potentially, on Friday.
Who's the question?
The point is just to
Yep.
get the process
We'll get that
going.
information, though, yep.
Anything else to come before the, yes, Councilor Broderick?
Thank you, Mr. Vice Mayor. On a lighter note, we received a memo of a new business in downtown Lowell. I thought it'd be nice to highlight Millennium Training Institute's going to, what's that?
That motion first.
We voted it.
We voted?
Yeah.
Already?
Yeah.
I didn't say that.
Yeah. Oh, all right.
What's that?
You did call the roll on the...
Yes, I did. All those in favor,
I'm
yes,
sorry.
I did,
Yeah.
yes.
I'm sorry, I thought-
Just wanted to welcome into downtown into the city of Lowell, and they're going to expect 100 students, and they're going to employ 7 staff members. So it's a nice addition to offset some of the problems we've been discussing this evening. Thank you.
Thank you.
Counselor, is that the coffee shop on Gorham Street?
No, this is downtown. It's New Millennium Training Institute on
Okay.
10 County Square.
All right.
Oh, Fairburn Building, yeah, 10 County Square.
So there, at 10 a.m. on Thursday, there's a coffee shop opening at 30 Gorham Street in the downtown for those who might be interested to attend.
The city clerk has an update on the budget.
Prior to adjournment, on my way, and I apologize for being late this evening, I had some personal business I had to attend to. On the way in, the CFO stopped me with regard to the budget and the final figure that we adopted last night. In the cuts in the DPW, Councilor Donahue was for an engineer's position, and it was $49,000. He informed me that it's $93 less than $49,000. So my suggestion to you, I don't have the budget in front of me. I don't know what the final number was we voted on. But if we reduce the budget by $93, that final figure, I think will be in order that way. So if we could do that by way of...
So are you looking for a motion
We
to
need to-
accept the...
We need to suspend the rules, I believe.
Okay, motion to accept the recommendation of the city clerk to reduce the city budget by $93.
What's the bottom figure? What's the, you don't know?
I apologize,
DPW.
Counsel. I don't have the budget in front of me. We voted on the figure last night. at the conclusion of the meeting, based on $659,000
Right.
in reductions. He informed me that the position is $93 less than the 49,000.
We would have
So-
to make a formal vote, so in order for the budget to be passed tonight.
Okay,
Well, I
can-
believe we passed the budget last night. What
Yes.
I'm suggesting is, and the CFO agreed, that we could just vote to reduce that by $93.
$93.
If-
Whatever that's.
Motion's been made.
Well, that motion's
So
been,
moved.
Second. Roll call.
Roll call.
Counselor Broderick?
Yes.
Counselor Caulfield?
Yes.
Counselor Donahue?
Yes.
Counselor Elliott?
Yes.
Mayor Martin?
Yes.
Counselor Armin Mercia? Yes. Counselor Rita Mercia?
Yes.
Counselor Milonazo?
Yes.
Counselor Ramirez?
Yes.
just, Mr. Vice Mayor.
Yes.
Just out of caution, if there are any other budgetary things that have to be tied up, can the special notice include that as well, if we had to take it up on Friday, just in case, so that we're covered, if we had to
Yeah,
revote something?
we'd have to do that, because you have to have a budget in place by June 30th.
I know, that's what I'm saying, we're meeting Friday morning anyway, so if that can be one of the reasons.
I wasn't
Good
aware of
suggestion.
this change, so.
Just add it to the notice.
Okay, thank you. Anything else? Move
Motion to adjourn.
Second?
It is warm. It was wicked last